Good morning. Welcome to Science Street TV. My God, have we got an amazing set of shows for you today. It's absolutely fantastic. In fact, it's a dressmaking weekend. What more to love? But we've also got loads of lovely haberdashery items, and there's some in this first hour which is amazing. We've got the flower of the month. We've got Clive Bruder, who is an amazing guy. I've had a lovely long chat already today. So we are going to have a blast of a show. We've got him twice today. So it's really good fun. So he's going to show us some techniques for dressmaking. But first of all, we've got to do the early bird. Now, this is something that is right up my street, if you excuse the pun. It is a pack of I'm going to use this nice neat pack here, a pack of friction pens. So for those of you who know, you'll love these anyway, and this is a great deal. We've got this pack of 4 in this lovely case for £8.99. So that's a really great saving. It says saving £2.99, £2, but actually if you buy them individually, they're £3.99 each, which makes it 12. So it is a really, really good saving. And why are they good? So these are marking pens. This is what you're going to use when you have to mark your pattern markings, maybe buttonhole placements, zip placements, pocket placements and things like that. You can use these. If you're going to design something to do free motion, you use these pens. So you use them for all sorts of things. Let me show you what I mean. So what I like about this particular set here, look, is it comes in this really nice case, which you can just pull off the top. And then we've got here green, let me put these back in place here, green, red, blue and black, which means you've got something for every kind of colour. So what we'll do with this is you just mark on the fabric. So if I was I'm doing a smiley face here, some hair. So if I was doing some free motion, for instance, I might want to Elliot says stop drawing him. I might want to do something, but then I might look at that and think, that's not right. I don't want that. So what can I do? Iron it away. So that's really good. So Elliot's gone. That easy. So it's really, really good for marking fabric, and then it just disappears. And as I say, if we've obviously got a white piece of fabric here, but if you were using a dark fabric, you'd use a lighter pen. So if you wanted to draw grid lines to sew, you can do that. So you can draw your quilting lines. You could, if you want, rather than cut your notches out on dressmaking, you could just mark them in. Can you see that red on there? And again, very easy to rub away. Now, there are just a couple of words of warning. They are friction heat away pens, which means they go with heat. So you have to think about what you're going to use. Now, what can happen if you're using, I haven't got a piece here, but if you're using a fabric with a really bold print on it, what you can do is when you mark with your pen and you iron it away, it can take the colour out of that piece. So test it on a scrap first. The other thing to be aware of is if it gets really cold, I mean seriously cold, fridge freezer cold, the marks can come back. So you have to be aware of that. So I tend to mark on the reverse of the fabric anyway, but sometimes for quilting you have to mark on the top. But just be aware of that, test it on a scrap, and then these are beautiful pens. And don't go and sit in the freezer. So they are medium point. We do sell fine point, but these are medium, which I find are the best point size to use. And I really like the fact that they come in this nice neat caddy. And actually what I find at home, the other thing is I actually keep them upside down, because I find that they work better and the ink's always at the nib end when you need it. It's not ink, but what it is, whatever substance it is. So it's really, really good. And you can, as I say, you can just write with them. And then you can sew. Who's that? Who's that then? So it's really good. If you're doing free motion, but you'd like a little bit of a guidance, it's really, really handy. And the fact that they just wipe off so quickly. So just use these When you're doing dressmaking, when you're doing quilting, when you're doing craft sewing, you can mark wherever you want to do. But now, normally, you buy these from Smith's. I'm trying to say a shop without saying a shop name, but they were originally designed to use on paper. High street stationery store. So yes, you can use them on paper. So again, you can plan. So you can plan like that. And again, exactly the same thing. They iron off. But as I say, just be warned. So Kat's just told me a story. So a lady did this, marked her quilt, made it beautifully, entered it into a quilting competition, but the quilt went by air in the hold, which goes down to freezing. So when the quilt was received, it had all the marks back on it. So just remember, iron them off. Iron them off. And it's always a good idea to iron marks off before you wash. Because like a lot of other marking pens, it could potentially stay if it's washed. All right, so we've got a price comparison if you buy it from a stationery store. Look at that, $14.99 if you buy this very same set from, yes. So it's, I don't know if it's exactly the same because I think, no, they click open, they haven't got caps on them. But yes, they are the same kind of thing. But we are selling them at $8.99 for this pack of 4. But this is for today only, it's on our early birds. Grab them whilst you can. I was just wondering whether that was actually a rubber, and it kind of is. So on the other end, you have actually got a rubber. Works better on paper than it does on fabric. And you can actually rub out the line as well. So even if you're doing schoolwork, but please, again, another story that Kat's just told me, don't do your schoolwork on paper and then put it through the laminator, which is heat, and everything disappears. So you can blow dry it, and as I say, you can actually use the tip as a rubber, but you can iron. And if you're worried about ironing your fabric because you're working with silks or something like that, use a press cloth. So you put a press cloth on the top, 100% organza press cloth is the best, and then you can still iron with your hot iron on your silks, etc. So that's really good. So I just love this. I love the fact it comes in its own little pack. Something for every colour, and of course the fact that you're saving £2 on the pack price, or if you were going to buy them individually, you're saving even more. So absolutely lovely. Let's get the blue one. There we are. You can see I shouldn't give up my day job. But you can see, because I've actually done it on a hot cloth, you can see it's actually almost coming off straight away. So do sort of be prepared. Wait until the fabric is cool before you try and use it. Otherwise it's coming off as quickly as you're putting it on. But they're just fantastic. They're so easy to use. And they are the same sort of thing. You're using them for the same thing that you'd use tailor's chalk for. You'd use a chalk marking pen or a disappearing marking pen or a wash away marking pen. This is an alternative. And it's something to have in your arsenal of marking tools. I would still have the chalk, I would still have the wash away or the fade away. Because different things for different purposes make a good idea. But these are definitely my go-to for the majority of my marking issues. And because you're saving that £2, so it's basically £2.24 a pen. And we normally sell them at $3.99 a pen, and you get the box, which is really handy. And as I say, I would actually store the box nib down, only because I find it easier for them to start working immediately when you're working with them. So what more can you want? These lovely pens. I think this is a fabulous early bird issue. This is really good. Oh yeah. No. So somebody's just said, don't write a cheque. No, I think it's the other way around. Write a cheque and then send it. No, don't obviously sign important documents or write a cheque or anything like that with a pen that can disappear. It's not necessarily a good idea. So yeah, these are perfect for sewers, even though that's not what they were originally designed for. we have now taken these on board and we have decided we're going to use these. And that happens with a lot of things, doesn't it? That we suddenly think, you know what, this is something that we want. Now, a lot are in baskets, but let me just remind you, we have a very good postage cost. So it's £3.95 for this, but it's all day. So if you buy this now, and then in a minute you buy the iron I'm going to show you, which is amazing, or any of the other happy things, you still only pay £3.95. You don't have to keep your box open, your basket open. You can buy and you can come back and buy something later on. Up until midnight tonight, I think, or 11:59 or something. That post and packing, once you've bought something today, that continues. And I also have to say, if you're not keen on buying online, there is a telephone number, which I actually used yesterday, 0800 001 4433, and I spoke to some really lovely people, which is fantastic. They're just down the road, really are local people. They're just down the road and they are really fun. They're nice people to speak to, so you can get some advice from them as well. And they're very, very quick to understand. So I gave the code numbers of what I wanted. They read that back to me and said, that is, and they told me what it was I was buying, so there was no mistake possible. So I absolutely rate them. They're brilliant. So you can go online and do it, or you can use the telephone number. And we have an app. So that's a quick way to get involved. So you can shop on there. You can see apps and me aren't necessarily best friends. But you just search for Sewing Street in the App Store and you can download the app and use that. So you can see everything that's on today's show. And can we pre-order everything from today's show? So everything that's on these shows you can pre-order. And we do know that the flower panel, which is on at 10 o'clock, we have already sold some of those already, even though we haven't actually got it. So let's show you how you pre-order. So you go to www.sewingstreet.com, click watch live, and then you can scroll down and you can see the items that we have on the shows today. So all of this that we're showing at the moment is in the first hour. So I doubt if we'll get through each item individually, but you can see it on that website and you can buy it from the website. Got some amazing products there. Look at that iron. Oh my God, look, it's fantastic. And then we're going into Clive's hour, which is dressmaking. Lots of lovely patterns. It's dressmaking masterclass, so different patterns, and then some more tools to go with it and some fabric pieces. And then we've got Flower of the Month. So we've got the March panel, which is the daffodil, but we've also got some of the previous panels if you want to see those as well. And this month, I have actually made a project from the panel and written instructions. So you can either buy the panel on its own, the panel with the instructions, or the instructions on their own. And of course, these instructions will work just as well with any of the other panels. So they might be quite handy for you if you just wanted an idea of what to do with it all. More fabric are lovely, lovely, lovely fabrics. And then we're going, oh, we're still going down. Look at all these fabrics, my goodness. And then we've got Yarn Lane at 12 o'clock. So Yarn Lane, we have got Anna joining us, who's the designer of these amazing sock kits. And she's going to join us and show us how to do some of the stitching for them and explain some of the kits that she's got. And they are beautiful. But let's quickly go through the menu for today. So here we are. Now we've got sewing room tools. And then at 9 o'clock, we've got So Different Patterns with Clive Bruder, March Flower of the Month at 10, and a beginner's skirt with Clive Bruder, which we've got on the set somewhere, and it's amazing, and anybody could make this. And then we have Yarn Lane crochet socks and shawls from Anna. So that's the skirt that we've got, which is a lovely wrap and it would suit anybody, nice and easy to make. And Clive's going to show us how it's easy to make and it suits anybody, and you haven't got to worry about fit because it's a wrap, so you can make it and be really confident. And this is being made in a patchwork fabric. Patchwork fabrics are beautiful for dressmaking, I promise. So definitely you could go with that. So let's look at what we've got to play with today. I'm going to start with the iron because it's hot and I don't want to touch myself with it, but it's a hot iron on its nice own little pedestal. And you've got settings on the back here. And I don't know if you can see the settings on the back, but I've got the option. If I go, I don't know if you can see. So it's got this here. So I can have it with the cord attached, or I can lift it off without the cord, so it's cordless. Nice steam iron, really good steam iron, and it sits on its plate nice and securely. And then if I flip that switch down, it's now got the cord on. It takes 5 seconds to recharge, and then if I go halfway, it's now attached to the base, which means if you've got children or pets that could possibly pull on it, it's not going to come off. You see, I'm pulling quite hard and it's still sat firmly on its base. It also has a really powerful steam, which is really important. And I have to say, Kat, our producer today, this is her iron of choice. This is the one that she's got at home, and she loves ironing. Crazy woman, but she absolutely loves ironing. And what I like is a really good steam iron. You can pay a lot of money for a really good steam iron. I mean, seriously, a lot of money. But this is an amazing price, $29.99 for this iron, which can do so much. And if you need to steam your curtains or garments on a dress form, you can do so nice and easy. Okay, so you can do. Oh, did you hear that steam? Woo! So it's good. And you can see, I don't know what the sole plate's made of, but you can see the sole plate's a really good sole plate too. So I think that you'll find that's quite a good sort of non-stick one. It's a bit dirty, I'm afraid, because this iron is obviously used a lot. But yeah, you can iron it. It's very smooth. It runs beautifully over anything. It's got a 300 millilitre water tank. Oh, and the cable's 1.9 metres if you do prefer to have it cable. It's also a 2,600 watts, so it's a nice hot steam iron, perfect for dressmakers as well as quilters. It's a really good quality steam iron. So I think that's a must-have, that one. For me, that's a must-have. But let me show you some of the other ironing tools we've got. Because pressing is particularly important if you are doing any kind of dressmaking, bag making, craft making, etc. So these two items here, they're two individual items, but they work together, obviously. So this is a ham. So this is a dressmaker's ham, and it's called a ham because it's ham shape. It's stuffed firmly, so it's a nice firm stuffing. And what you use it for is to iron over curved areas. Oh, the ham's already sold out. I'm sorry, let me put that to one side. But they will come back. So if you're interested in that, it's really good for ironing darts and things. The sleeve roll is its companion. So this is also very handy. And this is good for literally for ironing sleeves. If you want to iron a sleeve, and you want to iron the seam, but you don't want the seam to come through to the underside, you slip this inside and then you do it. Same with trousers. You can do the same thing with trousers. You can do it with other seams where you don't want the seam to show through. So you put the seam on there and then you can iron. And again, it's nice and firm. It's sort of usually filled with sawdust or something similar. The red should not come off on your fabric, but if you are concerned about that, do it from the other way up. And then you haven't got a problem with it at all. So, I mean, it's always worth, if you're working with light fabrics, then use the light side. If you're working with darker fabrics, you can use the dark side. And you do generally iron from the wrong side, but sometimes you need to iron from both. So it is a good idea. Can turn around, and that's actually the same on that one, of course, as well, when that's back in stock. But another thing to iron. Now this is one, again, that I have got. I've got about 3 of these at home. I'm going to put this iron on the floor for a minute so I don't accidentally knock it. So this is an ironing sheet. You can get mats, but this is called a sheet. It's called a sheet because it's huge. Mine doesn't look like this anymore. So this can hang over the front, hang down like that, but I'm going to leave it on the top so you can see. So this is a removable one. So you could have this, you can have this under your sewing machine as a mat under your machine, and that can be your scrap bag if you want to. It also has a pin cushion on the other end, so you can pop pins in. And it's got a grid. Now I wouldn't rely on the grid to cut straight, not that you can cut on it obviously, but it is quite useful to have. So you've got this grid on it here, and then if you prefer, you can of course always use the other side as well. Now this is what I use 99% of the time. The only time I will use an ironing board is when I'm trying to iron a full garment, and obviously it's better to work on a board. But when I'm ironing parts of a garment, when I'm creating it, or when I'm ironing bags that I've made, or cushion covers, or table mats, etc., this is what I use. Because you can set this up quite close to your machine. You can use your little iron or your big iron, it doesn't matter which. You can use your steam on it as well. Couple of things to say though, because I have to have a big apology to my friend. I used my mat with a lot of steam when I was doing a technique the other day, and there was a cutting mat underneath it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Remove your cutting mat, because actually what you can do when you do that is you can warp your mat. So that's not a good idea. So put it on a flat surface. If you use a lot of steam with it, you might need to pick it up and dry it for later. That's just because obviously, like an ironing board, the ironing board often has a metal grid underneath so that the steam can go all the way through. So you're going to have the same thing, the steam's going to go through, so just make sure you pick it up and then you can dry it out if you need to at a later date. But it's fantastic, it's got all these pockets, so you, as I say, you can have that on the top there, you can pop your things in your pockets, and this is what I use. I have a little ironing station in my workroom, or as my son calls it, I've got a little tiny sort of passageway which my tumble dries in, and I've also got an exercise bike in it at the moment, not that I use that, but still. And so it's my laundry cum gym. It's actually a tiny little corridor, you know, about 3 foot wide, so yeah. But this is where I have this set up, and it's their use and really useful. This saves getting the ironing board out. This also means if you want to do, when you're dressmaking, you should press over every seam before you stitch it again. So rather than jumping up and down from your sewing machine, you can set this up next to you. You could have one of the little travel irons that I was using earlier right next to you. So when you're doing your little bits of ironing, just the seam, just the facing, etc., it's perfect. And then when you need to do the big pieces, then you go to your ironing board and you use your big steam iron. But this is so handy. And of course, you can take it with you. So this will go nicely in a sewing machine bag if you're going to a class. They will be back, Festival of Quilts at the end of July, yoo-hoo! So let's look at these. Lavender. So this is the Best Press. So it's clear starch and sizing alternative. But this is a lavender one, so it smells delicious. If I lie that down. It's a nice big bottle as well. So basically you use this to, when you're pressing something. So not only does it help press the creases out, because this one's lavender, when you do it with lavender, you will find you get a lovely smell as well. But you might go to sleep, of course. But yes, you could use this on your pillowcases. So this is really handy. Really, really good. Nice spray bottle, nice and easy to use. And it does help with your pressing. It's a nice even spray. So this is a really nice thing to help get the creases out, get a lovely smell. Or you can get the scent-free one. So if you're not into lavender, you can go for scent-free, which does the same job, so it's still going to help get the creases out. Very, very useful tool. The fact it's a bit starchy is also really handy if you're going to be sewing with very slippery fabrics, because you can spray the fabrics with this, and then that will give them stability when you're cutting out and sewing. So it's really, really handy. It's a handy little thing to have. Again, it's one of those things that are must-haves, you know, useful to have. $11.99 for a bottle which is really big. Let's make sure that's done up properly. It's 16.9 fluid ounces, or 499 millilitres in each bottle. So that will last a considerable while. Ooh, that's it. So it's really, really handy. We first had this, when it first came into the UK, we had these at the shows, at the Knitting and Stitching and Festival of Quilt shows, and we had them in the classrooms. They just walked out of there. They were so popular, they really were. So they're fabulous. Now this is something that I'm relatively new to, actually, this Bosal foam, but I'm completely sold on it. I absolutely love it. I've got 3 different packs. Let's start with this one here, which is code ZSM 454 something or other. So I'm going to take this one out, but they feel the same. They look the same from your point of view. This is double-sided, so basically what you're getting is a ½ metre. So you can buy this in multiples, and if you buy it in multiples, like a metre or 2 metres or whatever, you will get it as one piece. So you just buy. So if you wanted 2 metres, you buy 4 times this bundle. So it's a really nice 150 wide, so you can't see. That's really, really, really wide. So nice and wide, and this is double-sided, which basically means it has a gluey surface on both sides, so that you sandwich it between your fabrics, so you have the fabrics wrong side down onto it, and then you can iron both sides. It's quite low tack to start with, so if you've only got one fabric on the top and not on the bottom, it shouldn't stick to your ironing mat. But it's, you just want to press your fabrics on, and then you will stitch over it to make sure it's permanent for wash and wear, etc. It loves steam, so it's good to use a good steam iron with it. Back to the steam iron again. And the thing I like about Bosal as a wadding for craft makes, it's flexible, but it holds shape. So if you use it for bag making, the bag will stand up. And you can use, there's other products that I've used in the past. I'm not going to name and shame. But whilst they do the same job, they're not as easy to turn through. You know, when you sort of do it and then you turn it through to the right size, this is much more pliable. It's very easy to turn it through, but you still get that stability and the shape that you need. So this is a really, really good. So don't forget, if you want a metre, it will come as one piece. You won't get multiples of little ½ metre pieces. So say, for instance, if you were doing, I don't think you would use it for a quilt particularly, but if you were, you'd have a bigger piece. But you could do it for wall hanging. Where you want the wall hanging to be nice and square and not kind of droop in the middle, this is perfect. And actually, could you use it as shoulder pads in jackets? Sort of yes and no, but obviously, because not this one particularly, but one of the other ones definitely. So this one is double-sided, remember, with the fusible, so you'd have fabrics both sides and it would stick. But there is one without glue. That's the one you use for shoulder pads and things. This one. So this is the sewing one. And it does feel different, actually. I mean, not that you can feel that. It feels very soft. You can't. The other one, you could kind of feel a little bit of a shine to, so you know that's got the glue on it. This one, it just feels soft. It's almost felt-like in its feel. But again, it's got the same properties in that you can see how it would shape and hold its shape. So you've got that. And yes, you could make shoulder pads out of this. It's 150 wide. What's the price of this one? £10.99 for the ½ metre piece, 150 wide by 1 ½ metre. So that's a really good price for this. And again, you'd use it for bags, for placemats, for table mats, for anything that you want to hold shape. So it's really handy. It's lovely and soft. It sews beautifully. It's easy to sew through. So again, this is really handy to sew through. If you're going to sew through this and thick fabrics, don't forget to use a needle that's appropriate for it. So you might want to be using a 14. So that is the non-fusible one. There's a place for everything. And then we've got a single-sided one. So it doesn't make, I mean, for instance, when you're making a bag, you might use the single-sided one. And again, you can feel which side has the glue on it, because the you can feel it's sort of rough texture, and then on the other side it's just soft. I don't know if you can see that. Can you sort of see the difference? So that's sort of the felty side is the non-adhesive side, and then above it's, I don't know if you can, but you can feel it. You can definitely feel it. So if you can't see it, you can feel it, and you can see it if you've got it in front of you like this. Now this, I would say, is perfect for bag making. So you would fuse this to your main fabric, your outside fabric, and then you make the lining up separately, and you put the lining in, turn it through, etc., etc. So this is perfect for bag making and things. The double-sided one is perfect if you're doing things like placemats, wall hangings, which you don't turn through because you fuse the fabric on both sides and then you bind the edges. So there's something for all of these. But another product that we know is incredibly popular, like, you know, I have this issue, I have to put things away, is the heat and seal. So heat and seal is, here it is. So heat and seal is basically, it's double-sided fusible web. That's what it is. So it's similar to the Bosal in that if you use the double-sided one, but you would use this more for appliques and things, for smaller pieces. Now the light is great for all sorts of fabrics, all sorts of different things. In this pack here, you have 74 centimetres times 69 centimetres wide, and it will be paper backed. So you start off by fusing it onto the wrong side of your applique fabric. You draw your shape or whatever, and then you cut it out, and then you peel off the paper backing, and then you stick it onto the right side of the fabric you're appliquing onto. So it's very, very simple and quick. Good to use with the applique mat, which I think you'll find on the website, because that's a handy tool. It's just to make sure that the glue from this doesn't get onto your ironing surface or indeed your iron. So this is for your regular fabrics, your medium weight fabrics, your finer fabrics. You can use it for anything. It will give you a nice soft bond which won't change the handle of the fabric. And on the back you have instructions of how to use it. Very, very clear instructions on how to use it. Or the ultimate. This is the ultra. So again, this is sort of something, I'm not trying to spend your money for you, but this is something it's quite a good idea to have both. So this one is got for heavier weights. So maybe you can actually do it with cardboard as well, but leather, felt, fleece, anything that maybe is thicker and heavier, and you want the bond to be greater because of the pile of the fabric. So it's exactly the same otherwise, and you just use it the same way, paper back, so you've got one side you can see the glue on it, that's the side that goes onto the reverse of the fabric. Iron it on, then cut out your shape. Try and do it that way round, so it's a lot easier to make sure it's the right size for the shape. And then you peel off the paper backing and putting onto the right side of your base fabric and fuse in place. And again, I would always use a pressing cloth. So if you haven't got a dedicated pressing cloth, then a tea towel, a pillowcase, something like that would do fine. So that is two more pressing things. Let's do, now this is something I haven't seen before, so I am delighted to see this. So this is extra wide backing fabric. It's called backing fabric because it is so wide, 274 centimetres wide, so 2.74 metres wide. That is amazing, that really is. So that's why it's called backing fabric. It doesn't mean it's a lesser quality. It doesn't mean it can only be used for backing. You can actually use it for whatever you want. It's just this amazing width. So if you're into quilting, this is perfect for that. If you wanted to make a duvet cover, perfect for that. So there's lots of reasons to use this. And as I say, the quality of the fabric, don't be put off by the word backing. It is purely because of this amazing width. Now this is Michael Miller fabric, so a lot of you will know the quality of that fabric. It is really good fabric. It's $12.99, and that is a ½ metre. So remember, it's 2.74 wide. So you might need, say, 2 metres to do a quilt backing, So it would be 4 times £12.99 and you would get it as one piece. It's cut for you as you order. So that's that one. Now look at this green. This is lovely too. This is a lovely green, and it's quite a crisp cotton. You know, this, as I say, it's not backing and it's flimsy and that sort of thing. It's backing because of the width. So again, is this the same width? Is this 274? 274 wide, and this one is just £8.99 for half a metre. We're gonna hold one open, and so I don't know if we're going to be able to see it all though. You know, this is gonna flip me out because I'm going to have to then fold it up again. Kat's going to hold the other end. Can you see this? Look at that. That's the width of it. The width. It's incredible, isn't it? So, you know, you could use that as the length, if it depends on the direction. You could use that as the length, and then, you know, you'd have a seam though, I suppose, then, wouldn't you? So you're going to, she's going to fold it for. I don't like leaving it in a mess. So I have to have it folded. So this is the next one. Look, so this is if on your website it would be VKYH67. So this is a lovely sort of more geometric design, and again, it's quite a crisp cotton. It's really nice. So although we call it backing fabric because of that incredible width, of course you can use this for the front of a quilt. You could use it for a dress. You can make a dress out of this. This is amazing. You'd only need a metre because it's 2.74 metres. As long as you can use it anyway, you could use a metre of this. So this is £8.99 for half a metre. So it's 18 quid, just under. So isn't that fabulous? If you're using it for quilting or bag making, you could do some free motion around the circles with the wadding behind it, with your bozal behind it. So you can really make it stand out in division. It's lovely. You can use contrasting or matching thread, so you can match any one of those colours. If you're not confident, use a thread that matches, and if you are, go for it. So that's a really lovely one. And then the last piece of this, again, same thing, 274 millimetres wide, or 2.74 metres. And this is a sort of, it's navy with like a black sort of splodge. That's a technical term, by the way. So it's really nice. Okay, it doesn't say it's 274, but we think it is. I'm just looking, am I? Let me have a look. Yeah, it is again. Look, this is half. That's half of it, because I've got the other half there. So it is lovely and wide again. So and it's sort of like an all-over print. So that's like a nice little print on it, and it would be perfect for backing a quilt. Well, you could even use it for curtains. I mean, this. Just let me get this out of the way. Can you see? So that's got this lovely sort of black. It's got like a vintagey look to it. I think it's really, really nice. So that's a dark navy. Again, £8.99 for the half metre. So double that for a metre, etc., etc. And what you will get is a piece cut to the order that you make. Let's do some scissors, because we've just talked about cutting. So let's look at scissors. Here we are, look. So this is 2 pairs of scissors for just £12.99, and you need both. So you have here the fine point embroidery scissors, or the little scissors here. They're really good just for snipping little ends, for cutting your curves, for cutting sort of into the seam allowance. And then we have here the, they don't say dressmaking shears, but they're side bent scissors. So really handy to use. What I can't see, but I'm going to try them here. So are they left or right-handed? They are. So they're ambidextrous scissors. So when you're using them with your right hand, as most of us do, a few southpaws like my son, they're fine, nice and comfortable in your hand. They've got nice room for the hand to go through, but you can use them left-handed too. And these are, you really use them. Scissors are so important when you're doing any kind of sewing. You need good quality scissors. And you can see how when I'm cutting, if I do it this way around, you can see as I'm cutting, I can keep the scissor blade flat on the table, so that's a more accurate cut. Helps when you're cutting slippery fabrics to keep them all nicely in place. Keep your dressmaking shears for dressmaking. Please don't cut the bacon. And Mel, I'm talking to you. So, oh, we've got a message from the back. I left my glasses over there. I bought these scissors and they were brilliant, better than expected. And the little snips are brilliant too. And indeed they are. The little snips are what you have right by the machine to snip your threads, to cut into the curves, to cut your little wedges out of the outer curves and your little snips into your inner curves, to trim your seam allowance down. That's what they're for. You could trim your sleeves if you wanted to. So they are really, really handy. Get them and keep them. Oh yeah, another message saying these scissors are great, and they absolutely are. They're really good, really handy to have. But another thing that's handy to have are pinking shears. So they're not pink because these are purple. But these are pinking shears, and pinking shears basically mean that they have a ziggy-zaggy blade on both sides. Okay, so you can get some serrated blade dressmaking shears which have the tiniest sort of serration, which are brilliant for dressmaking. But these are specifically to pink the edges of the fabric. And I'm looking for some fabric, but I'm just going to grab, if I grab that piece of fabric that we were marking with, marking pens, let me show you what I mean. So these are really good for neatening your seams, particularly if you're sewing with cotton fabrics and you want a very quick method of neatening your seams. You just cut with the pinking shears. Can I move that over? And you get a pinked edge. I don't know why it's called pinked really, but it is. So that's what you get. You get a nice pinked edge, and it's a really quick way of neatening seams. And it can look, it's a really, so if you want to make bunting quickly, and let's put the bunting out when we're all allowed to go out and party, yay! And so I'm just going to, sorry, excuse me, because Kat handed me something. I want to just be seen to do this. We do this a lot. We've got hand sanitizer with us at all times, and we use it constantly. So yes, these are really good. So imagine doing bunting. So rather than stitching your triangle, turning it through, getting that point perfect, pressing the edges, just stick your two pieces together. Sorry, not stick. Sew your two pieces together around the outside edge, wrong sides together, and then trim them with pinking shears. So it's a quick way of doing pretty bunting. And other things like it. But if you want to use them for paper crafts, we do suggest that you get a separate pair, because paper blunts scissors. Do you remember? Scissors, paper, etc. You can sharpen them by cutting through tin foil, or you know those scrunchy Brillo paddy type things. You can do it like that, but it's a temporary sharpen. And that's the same with your scissors as well, actually. You can use that to sharpen your scissors. But yeah, I would definitely have two pairs if I were going to use them for paper crafting. And if you're making cards and things like that, and that's not my forte, I have to say, then definitely pinking the edges will just give them a nice little look. It'll make them look really pretty. So let's do some rotary cutters. So another kind of cutting tool. So here, we've got three sizes. So the first one I'm going to start with is the more traditionally known one, the 45mm one. So this one, it has, could you see that? It has a safety, the green bit in the middle here, the green little lever. So the safety catch is on, won't be cutting anything. Bring it back, and now I can cut. So it's got a nice, comfortable, cushioned handle, easy to change the blades. So the blades do blunt, and you do need replacement blades. If you're finding it difficult to cut through your fabrics, it's time to change the blade. but it would still be sharp. So the edges will still be sharp because it's basically a razor edge, isn't it? So when not in use, so you're cutting out your fabric, and then when not in use, flip the switch and put it to one side, but don't leave the blade out. So this one is the most common one used, 45mm blade, and it's a brand, Clover, does lots of really useful haberdashery and very well known, so nice, good quality. If you are into cutting with a rotary cutter and all sorts of little shapes and things as well, don't forget you do need the cutting mat. So when you use your rotary cutter, you need your cutting mat, which we have got here as well. So this is a nice cutting mat marked in millimetres. Is it inches on the back, or is it only? Is it? Yes. So on the reverse, it's in imperial. On the front, it's metric. So it's in centimetres. So I know a lot of quilters still work in inches. So you use the other side of it. So it's double-sided, self-healing mat, and it's a nice big side. But next one we have is a 28mm. So this is really handy if you're working on smaller bits, going round little edges, and then you can cut. So if you're doing freestyle, you can see it's nice and easy to cut, and you can sort of cut shapes. Oh, I didn't do that. Oh, sorry. What you should never do is go like that. Actually. Yes, try and either cut away from you, or if you are cutting towards you, obviously with great deal of care as you're doing so. Okay, so actually, I mean, this blade, we had a competition at the show once, and we had you had to make something within 45 minutes, and one of the entrants was a young girl who was with her grandma actually, and she was doing all the cutting with the rotary cutter. I could not look because she was very good, and she was cutting all. I was like, oh, please don't. But yes, so very, very handy. Again, replacement blades, and then this one, little bitty one. So this is really good for your tiny little bits. And sometimes if you're working with rulers, you know, sometimes you work with the rulers, like the jelly roll rulers and things, and you've got like a little sort of cut out bits that you can go around the shape. That's when you're going to use a little tiny one. When you want to go through the ruler shapes to get the shaping, the sculpts or the hearts or something. Good to have different ones for different things. Again, you can use these for paper crafting, but if you use it for paper crafting, remember you probably would want to have a different blade. So you can actually buy the one tool and then spare blades. So you can swap the blades depending on whether you're paper or fabric. If you do that, probably use a little bit of nail varnish, a mark sort of inside it, not on the edge, so you know which one's which. So it may be red nail varnish for paper, etc. So that's just a way of doing it. So let's just, I've mentioned the cutting mat, but let's just show you. So this is a Janome, and this is self-healing. Self-healing basically means that when you've cut on it, it kind of closes up. Now, it will eventually, the cuts will eventually stay, but for a very long time, you'll be able to use this mat again and again and again. It's great. So this side is your metric, and it also has different angled lines. So I've got a 30 degree at this end, 60 degree at that end, 45 degrees. So you've got your lines if you're cutting things on the bias. So when you're cutting out your fabric to make bias binding, you can use the lines on there. If you are old school and prefer inches, sorry, this side isn't as clean. I'll put my hand there. Just lean like that, right? So this side is in inches. But again, you've got all of those marks. I've got it upside down, haven't I, actually? But this has been used and used and used and used. The only thing I would say with it is please store it flat. So the best way to store it flat is to put it underneath the, I was going to see, you can clean it, yes, but you can clean it with hand sanitizer and a cloth. Yeah, so if you have this, please store them flat. I keep mine, I've got a huge one, which I keep under the bed, but then I've got this size one, which I actually keep between my filing cabinet and my sewing cabinet, so it kind of keeps them upright. So yes, it's just a thing, because if you don't and they warp, you can't unwarp them. And don't iron on it with steam, because I did that. So this is what I need to get. I need to get this to replace it. So what is it? £21.99. So this is, it's a really good price. I like the grey and the pink actually. That's quite nice as well. So lovely in inches on one side. So it's nice and easy. And that of course brings us to the rulers. Now, when you're using a rotary cutter, and please, I apologise for those that use this all the time and know all of this, but let me mention it for those that perhaps don't. So this is a nice big ruler, very handy size ruler. You will see on it, now notice I said a lot of quilters will use inches. This is in inches, but it's marked out in segments of an inch as well. And you can line up your fabric with your lines on your mat, and then you line up your ruler on top. Now you have to use these quilters rulers. They're made out of acrylic. They're quite thick, but they're robust and sturdy and durable, and you won't accidentally cut through the ruler with your rotary cutter. If you try and use a regular ruler that you buy from a stationer's, you'll cut the ruler, you'll cut chippings off the ruler. So this is what you use instead. And then you can line up the lines on the ruler with the lines on the mat with the edge of the fabric. So you know you're going to get perfect fabric edges every single time. Now this one has non-slip dots. They're non-slip grip dots, so you can buy these, but this ruler has them. So on this side here, I don't think you'll be able to see them, because obviously the whole point is it being transparent so you can see through the ruler. But it has these non-slip dots. No, I think it's worse without the fabric. I think the fabric, you can see them more. Yes, you can see, just here, look, you can see these dots. And you can feel them, so you know which side is the right side. So you turn it up, and then you can line up your fabric. And again, apologies for those that know this and do it all the time, but what I'm going to suggest is if you are new to using a ruler, so I've lined up the edge of the fabric with the line on my mat. I've lined up the ruler with the edge of the fabric, so I know that that edge is straight. And then in order to get the next one, I'm going to aim my rotary cutter at a slight angle, just so that the tip of it is pushing into the ruler, and that will prevent you going like that by mistake. So you just put it in like that and then pushing away from you, and please always push away. Do not bring it towards you. Do not go like that. And you know why? Because as Elliot said, you can cut through your finger. As I know, as I did. When I was cutting for a student who was struggling to cut, and I was trying to help her, her rotary cutter blade was quite blunt, which I'd told her it's quite blunt. I was being super quick, did it that way, and I cut through my finger. Thankfully, because I had the gel nail varnish on, it didn't actually cut to the bone, it just cut the nail open and my finger, and I still got a scar. I didn't bleed on her fabric though. And as a paramedic, she said to me, would you like me to glue it together with super glue? And my blade wasn't that blunt anyway, was it? So I said, yeah, okay. So please learn by my mistake and always cut away from you. So that's this lovely big, this is a really handy ruler, but we also have this little square ruler. So this is good for squaring up blocks. Again, you have got a, what would that be, 45-degree line going across there. And this is a 6-inch block. So again, it's in imperial. So this is regularly used by quilters more than dressmakers because it's in inches, whereas dressmakers tend to work in metric now. Very handy little ruler, great to take with classes. Again, it's got the non-slip bits on it, which is really handy. And actually, I think it's got a little hanging loop. Yes, it has, and so's the other one. So if you want to hang your rulers, as we have here, so you can hang your rulers on the wall. So that's quite a good way of storing them, grabbing them quickly when you want to use them. So you can hang them on the wall. So this, obviously this has got its cellophane on it, but the fact it's non-slip is really good too, because that won't work because it's got cellophane. But this one with the non-slip, you can see the non-slip things there. So it's better to hold in place because you don't want it going like that as you're trying to cut Do you want it to actually grip? So that is our non-slip mat. And this is the small one. Okay, so interfacing. So this is the Visling interfacing. This is the one that people will know in previous life as Vilene. So the same company, Visling. And this is the lightweight. So this is what they call the H180. If you hear that, you'll know this is a lightweight interfacing. It is soft and light, and it's iron-on or fusible, same thing. This is good for very lightweight fabrics, for silks and anything like that. Anything that has got soft handle, you want to maintain the soft handle. Interfacing is used to add support and stability, not to change the handle of the fabric. In other words, you don't use it to make a soft silk crispy. So that's why you would use a soft, lightweight one like this with your softer, lighter weight fabrics. And even if, I say to Kat, I'm teaching a camisole Zoom class at the end of the month, and the pattern doesn't say to use interfacing on the facings, but I will be telling my students to use this because it is a soft, lightweight one, won't change the handle, but it will add that support to the facings that you need. So that is the light one. And it does have instructions here on the back on how to use it. The trick for any interfacing is, obviously, if it's got instructions on the back, read them. But generally speaking, a hot iron with steam, but you must have a pressing cloth between the fabric and the iron. And then we have this one. So this one is a medium weight. So this is for more general purpose sewing. So if you're going to make a woolen coat or something like that, you would use this or even heavyweight. It is a non-woven again. So the beauty with these non-wovens is that when you cut them out, you don't have to worry about the grain line because there is no grain line. So you can kind of like be more careful about how you cut and less of wastage. And again, if you look on the back, the instructions are very, very tiny, but they've got the instruction. I will have a word with them about this. They are there. They could do with being on the flap here rather than this bit. So you can see the instructions on how to use it. But again, it's the same principle. You want to use a hot steam iron and you hold it in place for 10 seconds at least. And that really is 1 and 2 and 3. It's a long time and that will fuse properly, but you have to have a pressing cloth on top of it, because if you don't, that will just stick to the iron and all shrivel up and look horrible. So do use that well, and then once you've fused it in place, let it cool down before you go on to handle it again, and then it should stay permanently fused. So we do have some other things, but we're running fast out of time. We've got a question. Yes. How much of the red extra wide material would you need for a skirt pattern? Yes, unfortunately you'd have to buy a metre, 2 pieces to make a metre, because I think you'd need more than half a metre length, unless you're going to make quite a mini. So you'd have to buy a metre, for the length, because that's the sort of height of it, which on me is above knee. I can put it against this one. Oh, there's a lump there. So even if I did it here and then you've got a waistband on top, can you see? It's a mini. If you want a mini, you could get away with it. But definitely if you wanted to make something like this wrap skirt, you would need a metre. And then you can get your skirt out of that because of the amazing width of it. But at £8.99 a half metre, that's a very cheap skirt. Very cheap designer-made skirt, isn't it? So we're going to go to the break. Please look on the website because we've also got bobbins, which are good for Janome and Elder machines. And we've got a sewing machine bag, which is a must-have, not just for sewing machines. We've got a light box, which is fabulous when you're transferring patterns from books, etc. So do have a look at those. I will be back in just a few minutes with the delectable Clive, and I hope we get some demos in because we're going to chat a lot. So I'll see you then.
Follow Sewing Street and Yarn Lane on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with what's coming up on the show, as well as being the first to know about our amazing offers. Get involved with our competitions that are exclusive to social media. And pick up some top tips from us too.
Hello Sewing Street fans, let me introduce myself. My name is Clive, I live in Kenilworth in Warwickshire. I currently run a business in Kenilworth and that's doing alterations on people's clothing. So I really enjoy kind of providing that service for the local community. My sewing journey first began when my grandmother gave me a hand crank sewing machine and from there I was fascinated about how things were put together. To the point where I used to make clothing from my favourite toys out of toilet tissue. I've also kind of studied fashion design at Epsom University in Surrey, so I've kind of gained knowledge along the way of different aspects of sewing, like pattern cutting. So yeah, that's a little bit about my sewing journey. My number one sewing tip is don't give up. Sometimes you'll get frustrated and you're angry with yourself, but really just put it to one side and take half an hour, go and have a cup of tea and a biscuit and then come back to it, and then you'll kind of like have a fresh mind to start again. The positive happiness that comes from that is just amazing. So please don't give up, keep on sewing. My claim to fame? Well, if you've been watching, you've probably heard my name mentioned on Sewing Street several times. My husband is Mark Francis from the Sewing Bee, the Great British Sewing Bee. So that's number one claim to fame. My second claim to fame is I had Adele, the beautiful, beautiful tones of Adele singing for me when I was a barman back in the day. It was just amazing to have her sing to me at my bar. So yeah, and also I've met Prince Harry at a VIP party. Stay tuned on Sewing Street and you'll see me very soon. Hope it all goes well, fingers crossed.
We know that shopping online can be a confusing and sometimes daunting task, and sometimes all you want to do is talk to a human being. Well, our family-run customer service team are on call 24/7. They're full of friendly, warm-hearted individuals, all trained to make your shopping experience as easy and as enjoyable as possible. And not only will they take your order, they will also help and guide you on your shopping journey, so you never miss out. Hello, 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 back again. I am joined this hour by Clive Bruder, who is an amazing man with a really good history, so we're going to get a bit into that as well. Now, he's going to do a dressmaking masterclass with us, just giving us some tips on how to do particular things. But if you've been watching any of his dressmaking classes, you will have seen him. You've been here before, haven't you? So you'll have seen him before a few times.
Did a few shows now.
And I had noticed, actually, in your little promo thing, you had like a little thingy on your head, your hair.
Oh yeah.
What happened to that?
That's new. It's shaved off. It's the
What happened to that
lockdown.
little-
It's the lockdown kind of. I'm thinning, balding, so let's just get rid of it.
And you're seeing him now on the screen. When you see him, look at the shirt he's wearing. Look at that. It's designed by Mark for him, obviously made
Well,
by
Mark
Clive's
is
spare
actually
hands.
developing the pattern.
He's developing a pattern,
Yeah.
so keep that in mind, ladies and
So
gentlemen.
I thought
Watch
I'd kind
this
of
space.
sneaky preview.
Sneaky preview of this here pattern. It's very lovely. It looked like a Neapolitan ice cream.
Yeah. Well, I thought spring colours.
It is spring colours,
Yeah.
yes.
I actually made
absolutely.
this out of old bed sheets.
Did you really?
Yeah.
So that's upcycling.
Yeah.
It's really good, isn't it? It's really, it looks great too.
It's
it looks lovely.
it's in the developing stage at the moment. So
Yeah.
and it's going to be exclusive to Sewing Street.
Wow.
So when it launches, it's going to be launched on this channel. So,
And presumably you or he will show some steps on how to
he'll
make it.
he'll be
doing that.
Yeah,
So
he'll
not only
definitely
will
be doing
you get the actual pattern designer showing how to make it. I think it's great. So watch this space. That is coming soon.
Turlo shirt.
It is. I love the
It's
collar.
called the Turlo shirt. This is. Turlo.
Turlo.
Yeah, it's a character from Doctor Who, and it's inspired by something that he wore.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember Turlo in Doctor Who.
Yeah, Turlo.
There we are. we all learn. Every day's a learning day. So we're going to be looking at so different patterns, but just before I do, can I just mention the friction pens that we had as our early bird offer? We do still have a few left. They are selling really well. Clive has just said he's going to order them, so don't order them all, please, because he wants to order them when he gets home. Very, very handy, really good for dressmaking in particular. So just going to put those to one side, but please don't forget about them, because what we've got to start with is this wonderful bundle. And this bundle is 5 patterns. Should I turn them round? So 5 patterns. Let me flick through these patterns for you. So we have here the Geo dress. Now, the thing with so different patterns is they are a comfortable fit and they are no fastenings. That's Laura's unique selling point. You don't have to put zips in. So that is the first one. This is the Geo dress, and actually there's a little bit of complication on this, and you're going to show us how to put the pocket in, aren't you?
Yeah.
So this one is not necessarily for an absolute beginner. This may be one when you've sewn some of the others, then have a go at this one. Then this one. Now this is my favourite. This is one I had on my birthday show. I absolutely love this. I also love the colourways, but do remember that if these aren't your colours, that's the whole point of dressmaking. You use whatever colours you want. I would use a jersey. And again, if we get time, you're going to show how to put that flounce in that curve without buckling, etc., aren't you?
Definitely.
Then we have this one, which is it called anything? It's just a panel tee. So this is... It looks a little bit like a pinafore, but it isn't, because it's got the sleeves, so you've got the contrast panel. And a lot of these patterns, these so different patterns, are really good for block colouring. So you can use, like they have the same colours, or you could use different colours to really make it stand out. Really, really good. You get that one as well. You also get this one. This is the everyday chic dress. But look at this, it looks really comfortable. Again, you've got these contrast pocket. I'm thinking these are pockets, not panels.
I've made that one actually.
Have you?
Yeah, I've made it on the show, so you can re-watch it.
Okay, so you can
YouTube.
if you want to see this one, some tips on making it. Clive's done this. You can go to the YouTube channel and find it. The other thing I like about these is the size range.
Yeah.
8 to 26.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
So that's a very, very good size range. And as we said, no fastening, so very simple. And on the back here, it's got everything you need to know when you buy it, how much fabric you need. It's got the finished measurements, always worth looking at those to see what size you need to make as well. So you choose your size by your body measurements, but look at those and the finished garment measurements, and you can see how much ease has been allowed. And then finally in this bundle, we've got this one. This is the one I saw Laura wear, but you've made this, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
And you've worn it.
I've worn it as well, yeah. I used the gold fabric.
Gold
there.
fabric we've got here.
And I put some like sequin wings on the back as well. It was around Christmas time, so I thought, why not? Sparkle it up.
Sparkle it up
Yeah.
and wear it. So it's really good. It's quite clever, isn't it? It's a dress with a top. Is the top attached to the dress?
Yes, it is. Or
So
you could have it separate.
You could do it separate if you wanted to.
Also in that pattern, I think there's a short version for the vest as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, there is. There's a short version, and again, it's got this huge size range.
It's quite multi.
It is, and I
really.
saw this. I did an interview with Laura on Instagram.
Yeah.
Look at me. Yeah, down with the kids. And yeah, she was wearing this at the time, and she'd get a little 12.
No,
she looked amazing.
I love it.
Absolutely.
It's like a really roomy, boxy.
Yes.
Like just kind of like a slouchy.
It's perfect for
It's
right now,
perfect
isn't
for
it?
now, yeah,
it is.
definitely.
But also, it could look really smart, couldn't
Yeah,
it?
no, you could dress it up as well.
So you get all 5 of these patterns, and don't forget, it tells you the suggested fabric, etc. All 5 patterns, plus, we get these large universal scissors. You don't get the scissors. Oh, what? Just 5 patterns. You're lying to me then. You said it was a bundle. You said it was a bundle. I was adding to my bundle. Okay. Sorry. Now, we can, of course, do them on their own as well. So if you don't want all 5, you can buy them individually. So if we start with this one. So this is the layer dress and top. Size is 8 to 26. So if I put that in measurements, let me see what it is. So let me do it in inches, because most of us are in inches, aren't we? So that is a 33-inch bust up to a 50 and an eighth, I believe. Glasses on, I can see. So a really good range. And so that's a lovely one. So that's it's the other thing it's got on here, which I really like, difficulty level. So this is telling us that it's a very easy design. It's a 1 star out of 5. It tells you the time it should take you. It doesn't have to take you that long. You don't have to get it done in that time. It's give you an indication. You know that you can make this in 3 hours. Now, usually the time it is to make, not cut out as well, because cutting out can take as long as making, depending on the complexity of the dress. And I like this other thing as well. So the front cover model is 5'6" and she's wearing a UK size 10. Isn't that great? So you know she's a normal woman. And she's wearing a size 10. So that's really good. So that's the first one. Then we have this one. This is the one that Clive has already made. This looks very, very comfortable. Sorry, I need to lie it down. Everyday chic, this is called, this one. And you could use some colour blocking here, because you've got you could have different colour sleeves, different colour bodice, and then you've got the pockets here. So it's really nice thing. So it's 8 to 26 again. And on the back, as with all of them, it gives you an idea of the type of fabrics to use. It gives you a little description, so you can kind of get the idea. Always look at the back and look at the line drawings that are there, because they give you a little bit more detail on the construction than a photograph can, which can kind of hide some elements. Fabric type, and then you've got the option to do shearing elastic for smocking if you want to. The contrast pocket back, shown on the front cover, takes 0.5 of a metre. So, you don't have to do the contrast. You can see on the back here, it's just one colour, but you could contrast it all. It's a lovely, versatile design. This time we've got 2 stars for sewing level and 3.5 hours. The next one is this one. I like this because it looks like a pinafore, but it isn't. So that's quite good. And it looks to me as if they've made the sample out of a silky fabric, but you could use a heavier weight. And again, it's panelled. This is often one of her signatures, isn't it, Clive?
Yeah.
That she uses panels.
Yeah, I think it's really flattering for the body as well.
It can be really flattering, can't it? Yeah, absolutely. So you could use a dark colour for the outer bits here to slim down your silhouette. We could all do with that. If you go on the Sew Different website, they have a lot of blogs and support. And I think she often does some hacks as well, doesn't she? So you can see some alternatives as to what she's done.
Yeah.
So again, you will see it, and you see it in different fabrics. This is always very useful, but it does give you an idea of what fabric you need: lightweight, good draping ability, viscose, polycotton, silk, jersey, chiffon or crepe. And I can tell you, I can read that without my glasses because it's not ridiculously small. So that's really handy. Difficulty, just 1 star. So another nice and easy garment to make.
The quality of the pattern paper as well is really good.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to open them because I'll ruin them.
I've got one open here.
But the quality, and it's multi-size, isn't it? So each of the different lines are
yeah,
in colour,
different
aren't
colours.
they? And that I find amazing, because it can be quite difficult to know what line to follow when you're cutting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And having it in a different colour takes that out of the problem, doesn't it?
A lot of the patterns obviously have the dash dot lines and different lines like that, but this is...
But I like the colour on that.
this benefits really well.
Definitely.
Yeah,
and of course, because it's on paper, it's reusable.
Yeah,
Use
over
paper
and over.
scissors to cut it out, though, not your dressmaking shears.
No.
This is my favourite for the moment, because I'm sure I'll have another favourite. This is the flounce dress. Isn't this? This looks like it's incredibly comfortable to wear. And it's got this lovely flounce, and I like the colours of this. But if you don't, you can use black and white, you could use grey and navy, you could use beige and navy, you could use pattern and plain. That's your decision. Remember that. You can do what you like. That's the beauty of dressmaking. So this is really, really nice. 8 to 26. Again, it's got all the information on the back, including the cutting layouts, including the kind of fabrics that they suggest and the difficulty level. So everything that you need to know. It's also got measurements in inches and in metric. So I'll put my glasses on so I can see, so that you can see what that's like. And obviously how much fabric you need to buy. So everything you need on there, and as we've just said, inside you've got really good instructions, step-by-step instructions, and you've got your tissue pieces with colour, size lines, much easier to cut out. The Geo dress, again, love this. This looks really comfortable. We were saying earlier, I would make this in different colour blocks.
Yeah.
I think that would really look great.
Like colours of the rainbow, like
Yeah.
in each different
Yes,
piece.
exactly. So
Amazing, wouldn't it?
you could have that in vibrant pink or
Yeah,
red,
yeah,
and then you can have blues and greens and purples and
Or you could have like a striped arm.
Yes.
With blocked, like black and white stripes. Yeah.
it says. I mean,
I'd
I
like
think
to
what I
see
would.
it in that
So
kind
yes,
of
I
fabric.
definitely would. That's one I might have to get this from Laura and just do that. What I would say was possibly make it in the one colour to start for your first one.
Well, what I would do actually is I'd twirl it up as
Yes.
well, just so you can have a practice of the Geo pockets.
Yes, because
But we're
they
gonna
are a
be
little
going
bit
through that.
complex, aren't
Yeah,
they?
they are, yeah.
So this isn't for an absolute beginner. This is what you progress to when you've had one or two goes. Still not difficult, still no fastenings, but the actual pocket insertion is slightly different to normal, and Clive's going to show us that. So these are some of the patterns. So this one is a difficulty level 3. If you want the entire bundle, you will save over 10%. So it's a great little pack of patterns that will really keep you going.
That's a great saving.
We're just going to quickly do the scissors because we want to get on to Clive. Oh, I'm allowed to do the scissors now, not in the bundle. So these say universal scissors, but they can be used for dressmaking or they can be used for paper, but don't use them for both. If you want to cut the bacon with them, Mel, use them for your kitchen, okay? Just saying. So then we're going to go on some of these fabrics. Now they're all by the ½ metre, but obviously for most dressmaking projects you're going to need more. So you buy them in multiples and you will get the one piece. So first off, this is the gold that you used for your layer
really
dress.
Nice. Very warm.
We're trying to find the picture. What it is, it's gold with a sort of gold sparkle to it. And on this, so it's a jersey, and on the underside, you've got this almost like sheepskin look to it. It must be lovely to wear.
Yeah, in
really
the winter,
comfy.
it was lovely. It was really
Yes.
nice. But I suppose at the moment, it's kind of fluctuating, isn't it? So
Yes.
perfect fabric because
It's
we don't know
good
if it's going to be warm
seasonal.
or
Yeah.
cold.
So this is really, and so you wouldn't have to line because of
No.
the underside of that. That's really good. And we have this in nude as well. It's like, champagne, and again, it's got that gold fleck throughout it. And again, the underside, it's the same fabric. You've sort of got this lovely thing. You could use that as a reverse on like a collar or something, couldn't you? So an unlined jacket or something would look lovely. You could do seams on the outside of a jacket, so that's on the edge of the seams, and you sort of do.
That would look good.
That
A bit
would look
like
good,
a
wouldn't it?
sheepskin coat
Yes,
kind of look. Yeah.
exactly. So that would be really nice. So that's a lovely one. And then we have this stripe. This is cool. Talking about having stripes on those sleeves. So this is a jersey. So it's almost the same on both sides on this time. There is a reverse. You can see when you look at it closely. But this is great for tops, for T-shirts, for T-shirting dress. It's got a great stretch to it. So it's because of the way it's I don't know, is it woven, I guess? Because it's not woven because it's jersey. Because of the way it's made, just say it like that, the colour's on both sides. So it doesn't, when you stretch it, it doesn't sort of suddenly go white underneath. It's nice colour. There is a wrong and right, but very difficult. 95% viscose, 5% elastane, which means it's very stretch and it's 150 wide. So with this, I would use a stretch needle as opposed to ballpoint. I'd use stretch.
Yeah.
So this is really nice. I love that.
You can overlock it as well.
Yes, of course, you can overlock this, can't you? So you could actually make a whole garment on an overlocker, couldn't you, with that? And this one is different, isn't it? Look, it's like little bubbles. It's quite a bright fuchsia-y pink with lighter pink bubbles. And this is the back. So the back is, this is, I don't know what, I think you call these knit because they're knit fabrics, aren't they? So it's actually, although that's the back, I quite like that too. It's sort of quite like, it's sort of almost
Muted,
reversible. It is,
isn't it?
it's a muted look. So this is a nice stretch. And again, this would make quite nice like pyjama style bottoms, lounging bottoms, wouldn't it? We're all lounging. I'm doing a kimono class on Friday on a Zoom, and because I was just thinking like kimonos are something you can wear
they're great. I love a
casual,
kimono.
but you can dress something up, can't you?
Yeah.
By wearing one of those. We've also got these viscoses. I'm just going to put that to one. Viscose. Anyway, we've got a selection of viscose. This is Woodland Harmony. So this is a lovely, lovely drape fabric. See, I think this would be nice in the wrap. It'd be very soft and flowy.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be really nice in that.
So that's a really pretty one. And I've just taken the label off. Mustn't do that.
I think most of those fabrics that you're going to use there would look nice in the wrap skirt.
Yes, I think you're right. These are lovely. It's lovely and make good kimonos too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they would.
Lovely, light and floaty. And this is a really sweet design. It has got birds on it. Can you see? Got little birdies. I'm not going to try and tell you what they are. But and it's got flowers.
I think Mark's made a kimono out of, not that one,
He's made it out of
the blue one.
hasn't he?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
because he
right.
had that on the show.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's
So-
a really nice kind of drapey,
I'll put that away in a
spring,
minute.
summer.
It is. It's
Perfect.
beautiful. I can see this as a beach cover-up.
Yeah.
You know, I think a sarong,
And then a wrap
wrap.
skirt.
a wrap skirt. Yes.
Wrap
It's
skirt
quite.
to look glam on the beach.
This is quite. It's definitely. What do you call it? Diaphanous? No. You know, it's a little bit translucent,
Oh, yeah.
transparent. So
Yeah.
it's definitely for fullness as a top, as a cover-up. If you did make it in a dress, then you'd need to wear a slip underneath. But it is beautiful. It's so lovely
Or
and
not,
soft.
if someone's
Or
feeling
not
racy.
if you're racy. Yeah,
If you're racy.
yeah. If you're a bit of a saucy pot, you don't have to. But I mean, you don't need a beach cover-up. It's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So, yes, this is lovely. I'm going to fold them in a minute. I'm not leaving them, I promise. And then this one is Country Roses. So I love the feel of this. So again, these have got viscose, haven't they? And by having viscose in them, that's really great. They're soft, flexible, easy to sew. This is 100% viscose, which is a natural fibre. And when you crease it in your hands, can you see? I'll do that again. Scrunch it up in my hands. And look at that. It doesn't crease. Brilliant. This is my kind of fabric. I don't need to iron it. But brilliant for holidays. So you can take your holiday wear, you can take a beautiful dress or a top or a camisole or a wrap.
Floating on the beach.
It's all floaty. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Or sitting on the balcony sipping your lemonade, of course. We did talk about making a toile. So a toile is basically a test garment, and the reason you make those is to test for fit. And you might, if you're making something, a new pattern, you might not want to cut into your beautiful new fabric. Make up a test garment in a calico. You tend to make your test garment in a fabric that is kind of the same as the fabric you're going to use. So if you're using a stretch jersey, then you need to make it in a stretch jersey. But calico is the fabric of choice to make toiles for most woven garments. We sell it in half-metre pieces. In increments. So you can buy 3 metres, but you'd have to buy 6 half-metre print, but it would come as one. Understand what I mean? Yes. So 6 units will get 3, and it's cut. It's cut per order. By the elves in the cutting department, little elves. They cut the fabric specially for you. They working through the night to cut it out. So this is very handy. It's always handy to have. Having calico in the house, it's really useful.
We've just bought like 10 metres of it just to have it in stock.
Yes.
Because toiling up, like when you're toiling, you just want to be able to grab something and just get it done.
Yeah.
You can write, as you can see, I've written on this piece that we're going to demonstrate. You can write on it. You can cut into it. You can. It's just perfect, kind of. And then after you've finished with it, you can kind of then unpick it or just put it in a tub somewhere, and then you can use bits for something else.
Exactly. It was exactly what I did when I was doing a dress and I was hacking a pattern. So I made a toile, as you say, which I made in calico, but like you, I'm not going to waste. So now I use that for other projects.
It's important not to waste the fabric, I think,
So
wherever you can.
So really, really handy. So even if you can't think of a use for it right now, it's quite... And then you can use it for linings. So if you're making a cushion cover and you want to line the inside as well.
Yeah, to give it a bit of rigidity in there, yeah, definitely.
So it's really useful. But come on, I want you to tell us what you're doing.
The geo dress. So there we go, overhead. Thank you, Elliot. So I've made half just just for,
Yes.
you know, to show you what it is, because I know that it's been made before on the show. We're going to look at this pocket here. It's quite deep. My hand went really far down then. It's a very deep pocket. And I'm just going to open that out so we can see it on the side.
So that's like the back and the front you're opening out.
Yeah. So this is obviously the front piece here, and this is the back. And then the pocket, let me just lay that flat as possible. So it has an insert in the side, so that goes under your armhole there, just down there, which connects to the sleeve here. And we're going to show you how to do that.
Yes, because that's not the usual traditional side seam pocket, is it?
No.
So it's going to give you a little bit designer.
Yeah, but it adds kind of a nice difference of kind of, you know, like you said before, with this dress you could colour block it.
Yeah.
So you could have that red, yellow, and then a green, and your sleeve blue. You know, so it's really versatile.
Yes.
And I think it would actually look amazing in pop colours.
Yes,
actually.
definitely.
So Laura, if you're watching, maybe we could see
send me
that.
a pattern and I'll try it.
Yeah. So let me just get my pieces. So just for this demonstration, I've obviously cut it in half. So these pieces are going to look smaller than they would normally.
Of course, yeah.
Apart from the sleeve, of course, because that we need a whole sleeve for this. Now you need to pay attention to your notches and your markings on your pattern. I can't stress to you how important they are for this pocket.
Yes.
Because you need to be sewing up to certain lines. And if you see here, because this is calico, I've drawn obviously my stitch lines and stuff in different colours. So it just kind of shows where you can sew to.
Of course, if you use your friction pens, you can do that on your fabric as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you could do that and iron them away.
I didn't have my friction pens, but
Because you haven't got them yet.
I know, yeah. I need to get some. So I'm just going to quickly zip that up now.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna sew the sleeve together. It's kind of like a raglan sleeve, I suppose.
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
You can take that native lamp.
Hang
That's
on.
also on our website, by the way.
just gonna
Provides beautiful natural
Just
lighting.
gonna unplug that
It's
because
just,
I
but we've
can see
unplugged
that
it for, yeah.
falling over. I don't want to ruin it. Okay.
And you're using one of our Dukey machines, aren't you?
Yeah, we've got one of these at home. They're
Oh,
great.
not in stock at the moment, but again, keep an eye, and I'm sure it will be once. I mean, sewing machines are just like gold dust. There was another expression that came to mind, but I won't use that one.
Okay.
So yes, but they will be back in stock, but yeah, they're very difficult.
Ultimately, you would want to pin this first, but I'm not going
Normally,
to do
of
that
course,
for
yeah.
demonstration.
Yes, we do things a little speedier than you would at home.
And you would back stitch at the start as well.
Yes. Well, I suppose you don't need to on a test garment.
No, no.
And in fact, if you use a long stitch, it's easier to rip out when you're going to reuse your fabric later.
So this obviously pattern, well, you'll see in a minute. I'll stop sewing. You have to stop sewing. You don't sew it all the way, the sleeve.
Okay.
This is why I wanted to show you.
So you stopped and pivot, did you?
No, you just literally stop. It'll become clear in 2 seconds. Let me just.
Now we have had a question,
Yeah.
I think from Michelle. She wants to know how much fabric she needs. So it does depend on your size. If it's 150 wide and you're 8 to 18, that means if you are bust 33 to 41, you need 2.5 metres. If you want the larger size, 20 to 26, which is bust 43 1/4 to 50 1/4, you want 3 metres. And that's when it's 150 wide. Particularly good for crepe, viscose, so these are the fabrics we've been looking at. Also for stable jersey, some of the other ones, for scuba, point, which is without an O, double knit. But if you use the jersey, it does say we recommend making it one size smaller than usual, depending on the stretch of the fabric. And you could actually replace the neckline facing with bias binding if you liked. So this is...
Sorry, as you were talking, it unthreaded itself.
Oh.
Which is always the way, isn't it?
Yeah, you could have got away with that. We'd never have known.
We just could have got away with that then.
It's always,
So I'm going to do the
isn't
sleeve.
that so frustrating when you get to the end of the seam and find you haven't actually stitched it?
No, I haven't got my reading glasses on, so obviously I didn't see the
lack of thread.
Yeah, the lack of threads. Don't do it like that, folks.
Well, you can just do it as a test, and then you do it with thread.
I was invisible stitching. That's what I was doing. No, I'm joking. So, yeah, okay, we've got to zoom in there. So you can see this green line here. This is where one of the notches is. It's really important that you stop sewing at that point.
So you stop with your back stitch?
Yes, definitely.
To lock it in?
Yeah. Or you can use the lock stitch on here,
Yeah.
which I'm going to use.
So a lock stitch often looks like a circle with a little dot in the middle. That's your fix or lock stitch, and it just stitches 3 or 4 times on the spot.
So obviously I've done the front. I've done it the front way because we've got the front neckline here. What we're going to do now is turn it over, and then we open it out to reveal obviously where I've kind of stitched up to the orange line. I don't know if you can see that on camera. There we go. Because the pieces are coming to a point, this is why it's important to stop sewing exactly at that notch. So we open that open. And I've already made the pocket piece. Now what you need to be careful with these pieces obviously is a left-hand side and a right-hand side. And for this purpose, obviously with calico, there's no printed side. So I've marked everything up, I've written all over it. And this is the beauty of calico, is that you can write all over it. So
but if you're using your fashion fabric, you want to mark the reverse of each piece.
Yeah.
Now I would do that either with a friction pen or a chalk, or even just 2 pins, cross pins.
Yeah.
Always mark the reverse.
It's so important, especially with this, because if you get them the wrong way round, it's not going to work. It's really not going to work. So we've got the pocket like that. I'm going to flip it over, and then we lay. Sorry, Elliot. It's moving it around like no one's business. We lay this bit. So it's the top of so it's directly underneath the sleeve seam. We lay it flat there. And with the piece underneath, we have to fold that under, because later on when we're sewing another point, if you don't do that, it will get caught.
So all this is in the instructions?
Yeah.
And step-by-step instructions?
Yeah, and she does have videos on the website as well. So let me just get some pins. Where have they gone?
You've got some. These are unopened pack. Have you got some?
It's hiding. Now, so like I said, it's really important to make sure that you're lining it up properly where those notches are, because there are 2 ways of doing this actually as well. I'm going to show you this way because I just think there is an easier option, but this way, if you do the harder option, then you're going to feel better for it, aren't you? Theoretically speaking, he says.
That's like the first time I threaded my overlocker, and I did it by cutting the threads and then rethreading completely, and then turned the page in the instruction manual which told you how you can tie them on and pull them through.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know, yeah. When you first get an overlocker, isn't it kind of like you just like, I don't even know if I can do this.
Yeah.
But
once you get used to it.
Yeah, once you get used to it, it's fine.
And they're so good to use.
Oh yeah, they're brilliant.
So are you able, whilst you do this as well, to give us just a little bit of background about yourself?
So I studied fashion design at university many moons ago. I was quite late going, I was 25. And it kind of halted. I didn't finish my degree just because my brother was in a really bad car accident. He's okay now.
Good, good.
But I actually learnt the techniques of pattern cutting and sewing during that period. So, you know, I haven't sewn for a long time, and I'm just a home sewer normally. And then off the back of obviously Mark being on the sewing bee, Sewing Street was like, "Do you want to come on?" I was like, TV, I can't do it. But now I'm loving
You
it.
thought, that's going to be glamorous.
Yeah,
No,
so that's,
it's not.
I mean, that's my experience. It's not kind of, I just kind of enjoy sewing.
Yeah, and a lot of what you do is self-taught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
sometimes the best way. Because
So-
you find your own ways of doing things.
Exactly, yeah. There's so many different ways as well. I've just turned it onto the back, and what I'm going to do is sew just from here right up to that notch where we've got there. I'm not going to sew it all the way because it looks, I don't know if you can see that,
Yes.
it's a Y shape that we're
Yeah.
sewing, which I think quilters will probably be well versed
Yes.
in, especially with the tumbling block.
Can we encourage quilters to do some dressmaking, please? I do quilting, not as well as a lot of you do. I know that because I see it on the fan pages, but I do quilting.
So I'm just going to stitch that again. We're not going to sew over the pins like Mark does. Nearly
No,
break the
I
machine.
never sew the pins.
I think he nearly broke the machine last time he was on.
Well, some people do say you can sew over them if you prep them in horizontally, but
Oh, I don't.
I don't. I think most teachers don't.
So we're just going to sew, and you can feel the fabric underneath as
Yeah.
well. Like, so you don't want to be sewing over that fabric. That's so important.
When you get to the sort of the thicker bit,
Yeah.
that's the bit you've got to stop at.
Oh.
So that is a good point to use your lock stitch button.
Yeah, I've just backstitched there, but it's fine.
Yeah.
You can lock stitch it, backstitch it. So we've done that bit, and I'm just going to flip it round and do the other bit there.
So this is looking at this Geo dress. Did you make the whole dress up? Or have you just
I
got to
didn't
doing
make.
parts?
I didn't make it. Mark made that one.
Because did he do top stitching? Because looking at this, it looks as if they've top stitched in like a red or something, just to have a hint of colour.
Do you know?
along
I'm
seams.
not sure.
I don't know whether they have or that's just my eyes, but I mean, I think this is the thing with dressmaking, though, isn't it? It's as Kat's just saying to me, it's you make all these choices, and if you're not confident doing top stitching, leave it out.
Yeah.
If you are confident, do it in a contrast colour. Give a little bit of detail.
You're going to have to be really neat when you're top stitching, aren't you?
Exactly, yes. And I would use a slightly longer stitch length as well, just to make it a little more dramatic. Oh, just looked at myself in the camera there. Sit up, Wendy. My mum will be sitting at home saying, "Sit up, Wendy, stop slouching."
So as you can see, it creates, I don't know if you can zoom in on that. So if you turn it right side out, which is a terminology that sewers use, it just means you're turning it the right way around. We can see that there's a Y seam there. And I've just noticed actually that there's just a slight little hole. So I'm just going to go back in and just do another couple of stitches where it's got a little hole.
And that's because you sewed up to one point and then you turned it and sewed up to the other. So it's just make.
So, yeah,
that's,
so
so
it's
that's
just-
easy done, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just
And if
literally a
if
couple
you're
of
worried
stitches.
about doing that by machine, you could do that by hand, couldn't you? That
Yeah.
little stitch.
Because the danger is if you sew over it, then it's going to pucker. And we don't want puckered seams.
Definitely don't want puckered seams.
So I'm just going to do a couple more there.
Oh, we've got a message coming across the bottom here. Hold on, different glasses. Oh, hi Wendy and Clive, loving the show. Could you tell me, you can lengthen the Geo dress pattern. Has it got lengthening and shortening lines on it?
I'm pretty sure it has, yeah.
Do you want me to look while you're sewing? Do you mind if let me just do
No,
my
no.
hands. Hold on a sec.
That's fine.
Just make sure. Ooh. I'll just have a quick look for you. Not that it means you can't lengthen actually. It just makes it a lot easier if it's got lengthening and shortening lines on it.
So there we go. Let me just zoom in on there. Just kind of fix that error, and now there's no hole.
Yes.
Okay. And just so, if you did want the easier way, let me just turn this back through again. So before we obviously laid the sleeve over the top, the pocket over the top. There we go. You could turn it over. So this is the sleeve arm here. Pull that back slightly. Obviously you would normally press the seams open, and you could then, if you had it like that, you can then just secure that down and stitch it down there, if you so wish.
That's great. And in answer to the question about lengthening and shortening, yes, there's an adjust length line. So you can lengthen or shorten it. So you shorten it by folding that up on that line, lengthen it by cutting it open, putting spare tissue or paper underneath. Make sure you do your front and your back the same.
Yeah. So now we're going to add the front piece on, which is going to then have that nice seam there, so we can then put our hands inside the pocket. Let me just turn that way.
Brilliant. Now we've only got 20 minutes left, Clive.
Okay.
So
what you do then is obviously the same thing. You sew up to the line. You take the front of the pocket, and you take the seam down there all the way to the end, and that will then encase. Let me just pin it so you can see. With this one, I definitely would have a go at twiling it up first and having a go at this, because it's just going to make so much more sense for you.
yeah, especially when you're doing something that's got sort of like, you know,
Yeah,
it's not sort of tricky, but it is a little bit
it's
more
a slight,
complicated,
it's a slight
isn't it?
complication, yeah. So I haven't pinned that very well, but the end result here's one I made
Here's
earlier.
one I made earlier. Good
wherever
putting
it
into fashion.
is. So on the inside, actually I'll turn this through. On the inside, that front piece is going to go, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's going to go all the way along, and then at the pocket top, and it finishes there. And then on the back, it does exactly the same. You just need to make sure that you're paying attention to the instructions on the,
Yes.
pattern.
So what I would always suggest is that you sit down with a cup of coffee, read through the instructions
Yeah.
before you start,
Absolutely.
and then you've got an idea of how it's going to come together as you go through it.
So that next seam would have been this one that's going all the way down here. And then that ties in, obviously, the front of your pocket, and on the reverse, the back also. So it's, again, making sure that you mark your pattern pieces with the notches and the little circles of where you're
Yes.
supposed to stop and start sewing.
Yeah.
But if anybody's got any pressing questions about it, she's got a great video on the blog. Pop a message, I'll see if I can help. But just give it a go. Like I say, like buy some calico and give it a go. It's a great dress.
It is. I think it is lovely, and I think it will look totally different if you do colour block it. So in one colour it looks fabulous. Colour block it, it'll look completely different.
Yeah.
Now, what are you going to show us
Right,
next?
the flounce.
You're going to do my dress now. This is my dress.
You're going to wear it in calico?
Not sure about calico. You know, you're saying about, a case of calico to test. You know, you can get fabric crayons and pens and indeed dyes.
Yeah.
You could actually
You could tie-dye it.
make it, and then you could tie-dye it, or you
Yeah.
could dip dye it. I dip dyed a white denim jacket.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and then I did embroidery on it. And I will wear it one day.
Oh,
Did
amazing.
embroidery and everything on it as well. So actually, you could use it and wear it. Although I would personally probably use a jersey for this one, or a viscose, a soft.
You need something
flow,
that's going to
don't
drape,
you?
because
Yeah.
this is not going to drape.
No, so it's going to
Very
possibly stick.
nicely.
But this is great for a test,
Yeah.
and to show the technique.
Okay, so I've kind of pre-made the flounce already, and this is kind of two-part. It's quite a big, they're very big pieces, as you can see. And the top of the curve, if I just show you how they look. Can you see that? There we go. So this is where it goes in on the side of the dress. And you can see angles down, and that's what gives you that kind of nice drape when it sits on the side, if you can see on the
Yes,
the
I've
pattern.
got, the pattern here. So
Yeah.
that's the closed bit here.
And again, for this purpose, I haven't made the whole dress. I've just literally cut the top half off because there's no point in making a whole top. And we're just going to use the front and the back of the skirt section. I've kind of cut it at the waist.
Yes.
Just so if you're looking at that piece going, why does that look the way it looks? Normally there would be a top part
Continuing
on here also.
on.
Yeah.
Hey, but could you do that as a skirt then?
I reckon
You
pattern
could.
hack, there you
Yeah,
go.
pattern, and you could put a waistband on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might want it more fitted.
You might do, mightn't you?
Yeah, so you might want a couple of, you might want to shape it kind of down so it fits over the waist.
Yes.
But yeah, why not? Or an elasticated waist.
You could do.
Yeah.
If you use the elastic, I've got trousers with it, which is like it's almost like Petersham, but it's stretched, and it's like an inch wide,
Yeah.
and you kind of fit it on your waist, so it's not all gathered. You haven't got this gathering all around the top,
Yeah.
but it is stretchy,
Yeah.
but it looks flat.
Oh.
And I use
So
I
that would
use
work.
that, and then because I mean like many women of a certain age, I don't need bulk around my waist. It's the last thing I need. So yes, definitely.
So we're
But
just
yeah,
going
that'd be
to
good. Good
match
hack.
this at the sides. Just make sure I've got that the right way around. And we're going to pin.
Now, do you do any stay stitching or ease stitching, or is it plenty of pins?
Yeah, I think just for the time constraints, ease stitching would be good, and a bit of stay stitching. So you're just going to slightly, because it's curved, you're going to slightly gather on this curve here. But I don't think we're going to have time for that, so I'm just going to
So
go
if
for
you're
it.
doing this at home and you've got the luxury of a bit more time,
Yeah,
then what we're saying, so again, I apologise for all people that know this, but we're talking to those that maybe don't. So ease stitching is basically, it's a straight stitch, but it's longer stitch length. So it's almost like gathering stitch.
So it's
But you're
your
not
maximum,
gathering
isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a maximum, so it's usually 5. And you just pull up the stitches very gently, just to ease in a bigger piece onto a smaller, or a curve onto a straight. So you do it on a princess seam as well. But the gathering is only in the seam allowance. So from the right side of the garment, the pretty side, you won't see any gathers. It's just eased in.
Yeah,
And
so,
stay stitching again, that's exactly the same. It is just a straight stitch, just inside the seam allowance, so towards the raw edge, just inside the seam allowance, regular stitch length, and you use that to prevent the fabric stretching out of shape as you handle it, and it remains there permanently.
So this is a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance, so you're going to want to ease that in at a centimetre or less.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, not too less, because otherwise, you're not going to get that nice curve, are
Yeah.
you?
So I would go like 1/2 an inch or 13, so it's like an 1/8 of an inch inside the seam allowance, or 3 millimetres.
I see I work in centimetres, I do.
Well, I do. I mix. So I think
mainly
of a seam allowance as
centimetres.
15 millimetres, not 1.5 centimetres, which is the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. I think you do chop and change a lot, don't you, when
Yeah.
you're sewing?
And it's funny because I'm quite metric in dressmaking. But if you said to me, except for measurements, personal measurements, don't use metric for personal measurements because you'll be huge. So I think a 36-inch bust sounds a lot better than 100 and something. Doesn't it?
So that's the kind of the cheap way of doing it.
But yes, I tend to try and use both when I'm writing patterns because I know a lot of people still use imperial.
Oh, okay.
But you shouldn't switch. So if you're using
Not
the
when you're
metric,
writing a
keep the
pattern,
metric.
yeah.
Or no, when you're making.
Oh, right.
If you're following the metric measurements, follow the metric. Don't switch between because they're not exact because you can't make them exact. Because actually you'll find 1 inch is like 2.51 or something centimetres. It's not exactly the same. That's particularly important in quilting, of course, when total accuracy is a must.
Tell you what, should we do that e-stitching when we've got time?
We've got 10 minutes on the hour here.
Okay. 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
10 minutes
See,
sewers.
normally at home you'd have the luxury of a little bit more time. This one says it's a 3-hour make, difficulty level 2, so it's quite nice and easy. So as we said, are you going to e-stitch or are you going?
No, I'm going to
You're going to go
it
for it.
I'm going to do it.
But at home, we would recommend you e-stitch. It will make it a lot easier to ease that fullness into the other one.
Yeah, just the full. It's the curve.
Yeah.
The straight bits you don't really need to worry about. It's just that curve that you're going to want to ease that into. And a lot of kind of tweaking with the pins and what have you is always useful when you're e-stitching. If you don't have or if you're not confident in doing it, tweaking with the fabric and the pins to kind of make sure that that's fitting nice. And where the notches are as well, because there are also notches on here.
Yes, and always match your notches. And I don't know whether you have, I'm just going to say this, but I always cut my notches out. Never into the fabric, cut them out. Now, if you forget to cut a notch, use your friction marking pen and you can mark it instead, because it will obviously iron away.
Cool.
But if you cut into the seam allowance and for any reason you need to pinch a bit of seam allowance because it's a little bit snug, you can't if you've cut into it. That's why I always cut out. And I know even in the patterns it often says cut in or just snip into the seam allowance. I don't, I'm old school, I cut out. Or if I forget to cut the notches, which happens, I use my friction pen and just mark them on there. But
So
just remember that if you then iron it, you iron it.
Yeah. So what you want to make sure as well is that you leave a long tail at the end of your easing stitch.
Yes.
I've started from the side and I'm going down, so it'll ease that bit in, and then you could do that on the flip and do the other way round. Just so you've got those. Or you could kind of start at one notch down there. But I think with this, I think it's important to kind of make sure it's equal both sides.
Yes, absolutely. And if you're a little nervous about doing this, of course you can hand tack it together. You know, if you feel more comfortable doing that and then sewing it. I mean, a lot of people. I know. It's not me. I absolutely agree. I'm definitely pin and sew. But I teach a weekly class in normal times, and a lot of my students, they like to hand tack.
Hand sewing is nice, but I think it's important in certain elements, isn't it?
Yes.
But, you know, I wouldn't want to hand sew a garment together. Oh, God, can you imagine? This is what these machines are for.
It's like doing the traditional tailor's tacks with the threads. And again, I tell my students how to do it with a friction pen. I show them how to do it, and they go back to using a tailor tack with a thread. But horses for courses, you use the method that suits you.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I'm not going to cut that thread. I'm just going to... But I don't actually think that I left the long enough one the other side.
Yes, that's the thing to remember, because of these modern machines, they cut the threads really short, don't they?
Yeah.
So you actually have to try and remember to pull it out. But if you just pull it up from the other side, you should be okay.
Okay. So with calico, this isn't the best fabric to ease in.
And I would,
like you are almost gathering it, aren't
yeah,
you?
it's just a very slight gather. And I would do that from using the bobbin thread. That's always easier to pull up as well.
Okay, because otherwise, if you do it too far, it's all going to come through.
Yes.
There you go. So that's just going to sit nicer when you've finished your whole seam. There we go. Just it's got a nicer kind of curve.
Nice.
There.
You can see that curve even on that. You can see it's working. And you normally do the ease-stitching before you put the two pieces together.
Yeah.
Obviously, again, we're working on a time.
Let's just do it.
We're just working on a timescale. Don't forget, if you buy all 5 patterns together, you are saving 10%, and they're all sort of different. So you've got a really good wardrobe of patterns here, nice variety.
And then we're going to go all the way down that side, and then it's all the way down the other but we've got 5 minutes. So what do we want to do? Do we want to carry on?
We've got 5 minutes, yeah?
Yeah,
If we can
okay.
do the next, because it'd be quite nice to sort of see that.
See it finish.
See our pattern hack skirt.
Our pattern hack skirt. We turn it back through now. In that case, I shall just sew the whole thing in, and then we can have a look and see what it looks like.
Kat's just said, "Oh, I can wear it for the next hour," but it's a slight problem. It's just the skirt. We're not that kind of show.
There we go.
But yeah, you could. I think you could make it. You use that calico, dip dye it, tie dye it when you've done it.
Dip dye, tie dye. That'd look good. It's obviously gonna be very structural with this fabric, isn't it?
Yes.
Which kind of might make a statement.
It could do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that machine though. I'm sorry it's not available at the moment. So there's no
Well,
point
they've got the new one out, haven't they? Which looks like a mobile phone.
Really?
Yeah, the screen looks like a mobile phone. It's brilliant. I really want one, but we've got one of these, so.
Yes, I know. It's the justification of it, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
I mean, they are lovely machines because they have that differential feed, don't they? And they have a particularly good feed dog system, which helps do the layers.
And
but nice you can tell it's a good machine because of the sound.
The nice thing
Sounds
with
good.
Juki as well is they're built to last.
Yeah.
As well.
And there's some great guys that work for them as well.
Oh, they're brilliant. They're all lovely.
Enjoy a nice drink.
Right, let's go down that other side. Sorry guys, bear with me. See, I'm going rogue now. I'm not using pins or anything.
So.
Please pin your pattern pieces together carefully. I mean, there's some pins there, and ease it in.
How many times did we hear that as children? Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, no, it's terrible, isn't it? And that's unthreaded itself. Yay! Let me just pull that through.
Oh, we do have pins actually. Talking about pins, these are dressmaking pins, $1.99, and pins do blunt. So do think about replacing your pins. I love the flower-headed ones and the glass-headed ones, but sometimes these dressmaking ones, why one is and one isn't, I don't know, but they're nice and fine, and they are good for lightweight fabrics because they're very fine, so really good. So this is really good little pack of pins. They're steel, and I can't see what length they are, but they look like they're 1.25 inches, something like that. And you get 25 grams, so whatever that means in number of pins. So it's a nice pot of pins here.
They're quite nice, the flower head ones as well.
Yeah, the flower head. I like the flower head ones. I mean, again, they're supposed to be quilting, but I quite like them for dressmaking.
Yeah,
but
they're light.
But they are light, but they're also, if you've got to pin thick fabrics, they can be too bendy. You can end up bending them, hence having different pins for different uses. And I like the glass-headed pins because if you drop them, they're easy to see, and if you iron over them, they don't melt.
No, that is true. Yeah, with the flower head ones, you need to be careful.
Yes, you could actually melt them, melt little flower prints onto your fabric.
You don't want that, unless you want it as a feature, or ruin it.
Of course, that was what you were doing it for.
Or ruin your iron. One of the two.
Yeah, then you can come. Yeah, go on, do it, and then tell him indoors you now need a new iron, and then you can get that one we showed earlier.
I haven't actually used the iron this hour. It is under the desk, ready to go.
Yes. Well, again, normally you would iron before you sew over a seam again, but this is not normal. So do look on the website for all the fabrics that we've been talking about and all of the different patterns as the bundle or individually. That's up to you entirely. If you get the bundle, you're making a saving of over 10%. But if you don't want them all, you might say, well, actually, I've got like 3 of them, so then you can buy those individually. They may make good presents.
There we go.
So there's the skirt from this is our pattern hack skirt.
Whew.
Look at that. That's lovely. And obviously it would be pressed and it'd be. You see,
you would press it.
That works.
It does work.
It does
actually.
work.
We put
a bit of a waste on that. So thank you ever so much, Clive. I do love it when we do dressmaking shows. Now, Clive will be back with us at 11 to do another dressmaking show, and this time it will be the wrap skirt, which is on our mannequin here, and that's a McCall's pattern, lovely and easy to make, and I think it's flattering for all figure shapes,
it's a great
isn't
skirt.
it? It's a great, skirt.
Easy
Hides,
first one as well.
hips. So it's really, really good first time project.
Yes, definitely.
So after the break, we're back with Flower of the Month, which this month is a daffodil. So we'll see you in just a few minutes. We know that shopping online can be a confusing and sometimes daunting task, and sometimes all you want to do is talk to a human being. Well, our family-run customer service team are on call 24/7. They're full of friendly, warm-hearted individuals, all trained to make your shopping experience as easy and as enjoyable as possible. And not only will they take your order, they will also help and guide you on your shopping journey, so you never miss out.
Hello everyone, I'm Delphine Brooks. It's so great to be here and part of the Sewing Street family. I'm local, I'm only down the road in Warwickshire. I started sewing many years ago when I was very young, doing lots of art and painting, and eventually I went into textiles, and I really enjoyed doing the two together. I then had a bit of a break. Something you don't know about me maybe is that I spent many years in the Royal Air Force and eventually in the police as well. And then I went full circle and I've come back to my happy place of sewing, and which I really enjoy. My best sewing tip is measure twice and cut once. I have chipped up a couple of times by not measuring properly, and I do always regret it. So now I always measure twice, cut once. Anyway, I really hope to be with you again soon, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.
Follow Sewing Street and Yarn Lane on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with what's coming up on the show, as well as being the first to know about our amazing offers. Get involved with our competitions that are exclusive to social media. And pick up some top tips from us too.
Are you a fan of Sewing Street and Yarn Lane? Why not join our growing Facebook fans pages? Just search Sewing Street Fans and Yarn Lane TV Fans on Facebook and click Join Group. It's that simple. Never miss out on the latest news and updates from our presenters and guest designers, special offers and plenty of chat with your fellow fans. Share photos of your makes, ask for advice, interact with your favourite guests and presenters, and be a part of the ever-growing sewing and yarn community. See you there!
Stuck for ideas for the perfect gift? Why not get them a gift card? You can buy Sewing Street and Yarn Lane gift cards loaded up with anything from £10 to £500. Shop our gift cards online at www.sewingstreet.com or www.yarnlane.com, or purchase them via our UK call centre on 0800 001 44 33.
Hi, welcome back to Sewing Street. I'm Wendy Gardiner, and this is the long-awaited flower of the month. So this is March flower of the month, and of course, it's daffodils. So we're going to start with the panel on its own. This is the panel, £9.99 for this panel, and we are already running out of this. So do I want it up this way? So you can see there the panel. Beautiful, shift it over a bit, that's better. So this is a 12 by 12 panel here. And you actually have got these two little tags that you can cut out as well. And I've sewn these on the back of my mat. So you've got the panel here, and then along the length of the panel, you have got stripes. So it's up to you what you do with these. You can make whatever you like. You can make cushion covers, you can make bags, or as I've done, I've made a table mat, 2 placemats and 2 napkin rings from this one panel. So you can do an awful lot with this nice cotton fabric. It's just plain white on the back, so it's printed on the front here. And as I say, you have got this lovely 12 by 12 panel and then 5 complementary strips. So that's your panel. And then 5 complementary strips, which are 2.5 inches by 43 inches. So nice, a nice wide piece here. So this is your panel, £9.99. This is your flower of the month. But we're going to do something a bit different. And this time, because I've done a project with it, I've written the instructions. So you can get this panel as a panel, or you can get it with the instructions. And that is £14.99. So you get the instructions here, and this is to make the table mats or table centre. It's fabulous for spring, for putting on your table as the spring comes, or for Easter. It's really lovely, or for outside. I've also done 2 placemats, all from this one panel, and I've also done a couple of little napkin rings. So very nice. So that's the instructions on the back, all at the back here, step by step on how to do it. And you get the instructions and the panel for £14.99. But we can also do the instructions on their own. So if you've got any of the other panels, or indeed any other panel, and you want to make this set, you can still use these instructions. That, of course, is up to you. The only thing you will need to go with this is something to back the placemats, because the table mat, I used the stripes. So I've used the stripes, and I've actually hand stitched on the 2 little labels. So this says quilted by Wendy G. I used my machine to put Wendy G. I don't know why I put the G on it really. And then on top here I've got the little daffodil thing. So you don't have to put those on. That's up to you entirely. But if you're giving it as a gift, it's quite a nice idea. And what I've actually done, the way I've done this, and I will go into it more and I'll do a bit of a demo, but I've cut the back bigger than the front, and then I've used that to bring over to make the binding. It's a really quick way of making binding and mitering the corners, which I will show how to do. But you do need, if you're going to make this, you're going to need extra complementary fabric to do the back. Now I've just used white because I didn't have, if I had these, I'd have used one of these. Look at these. 3 different yellows. So this is a ½ metre piece. ½ metre piece, so that would be plenty for doing 2 mats. Indeed, you could do the back of your table mat as well. You could put borders on that table mat. You could make it bigger if you wanted a bigger piece in the centre. So this is lovely. This is sunshine yellow. ½ metre piece. It looks quite nice. I could make a little jacket out of this, couldn't I? It would go nicely. Or we have, that's lemon. Okay. We have lemon. I would say it's pancake, but that's like butter. It's a soft, very soft lemon, that one. So again, that would complement well. Or of course, we've got the dark. This is called gold. So you can see, if I put them against the mat, you can see how any one of them complements it. So really useful. £3.49 per ½ metre. So that's a really good. You could actually have 2 panels, so you could have 2 pieces. You can make 4 placemats. You can have borders in these other colours. You could mix up. You could have a stripy border, or you could have one yellow and then you could have the other yellow. So you can make it as big as you like. Of course, you can do this as quilts as well. In fact, talking about quilts, so if you've got the other flowers of the month, I think next month is the last one. If you've got the 12 then, you could make a lovely quilt from all 12, doing a quilt as you go. Now that's an idea that I think you'll find is going to be used. Not just my idea, I'm not saying my idea is being used. It's just what I'm thinking, and Kat said, yeah, we're going to be doing that. So hang on till next month. And I think it's Rebecca you said, didn't you? So she is indeed going to be using all of the panels. So that'll be a really good idea. So they're the complementary colours. Oh, if you do want this March panel, the daffodils, we are down to less than 50, and we did start with hundreds. We do restock, and the chances are it will come back in stock, but if you want it now, if you want it for your spring, if you want to make it for Easter, which is not that long away, this is the time to buy now. Yeah, you won't be able to make it for Mother's Day, but you could tell your mother you're going to make it for her. If you haven't managed to get anything yet, you could say, this is what I'm going to do for you. I'm not sure how well that would go down, but you know, if you haven't got anything yet, it might be the answer. But these are lovely. I mean, this would look lovely as a cushion front as well. You could make a bag out of it. As I say, you can use the other ½ metre that you buy to add some borders to make it bigger, because this is 12 by 12, so you might want it to be bigger. And then you could add handles. You could make outside cushions for your outside chairs. These would really be beautiful. Or the conservatory. I mean, there's all sorts of uses. Or you could make it into a wall hanging. I've used beads. So that isn't in the instructions because I added those at the last minute. I thought, well, in fact, Sue, if you're watching, thank you. So I sent pictures with and without beads to my friend Sue and said, what do you think? Beads? No beads. She came back with beads. So I put the beads on. Oh, if you watch the sister channel Jewellery Maker from 1 till 5, you can find, oh, is he? John Scott's presenting on that today. You can find some beads. So these are just little beads which I've hand stitched on at the end. And what I did is I hand stitched the March daffodil. I've just used a blanket stitch to hand stitch it on. Because of the way I constructed this, which is a very quick and easy way, it's all explained in the instructions, but basically you sandwich the thermolam wadding with the backing right side down and then the top fabric right side up. So you sandwich it all together and then you quilt it all together and then you use the edges of the backing to make the binding. All in the instructions, so it's nice and clear. And I just mentioned Thermolam. So this is by Visling. It's a brand. The Thermolam is the name of the brand. Basically, it's heat-resistant wadding. So that's what you're looking for, heat-resistant. That is heat-resistant. So I would use 2 layers of this if you're making it for a table mat that you're going to put hot dishes on. To be honest with you, if I was getting a hot dish straight out of the oven to put on the table, I would probably put a mat underneath because I would hate to accidentally scald your table because this is heat resistant, and if it's coming straight from the oven it might be too hot just even for that. But 2 layers of that will do the job, and this is plenty. This is a ½ metre. It's $5.99, so this is plenty. So it's 1 metre by 90 centimetres. Comes in a pre-cut piece. That's plenty. That's plenty to do the mats and the table centre as well. So very good thing for anything that's you need heat resistant. So oven gloves, obviously table mats, place mats. Even if you were making like a wine cooler cover, you can use that because it keeps things cold as well as hot. So you can put your wine from the fridge or your sparkling lemonade or whatever into your nice little wine bag, and you can take that and it will keep it cool. So that's really good. So this is what we've got. We have got, before I go into the demo, let's look at some of the previous months. We don't have all of them, so that's the one I've just shown you. This one, so we don't have all of them, but they will be restocked for next month if you're looking to potentially do the whole quilt. So this was February. Oh no, it's not, it's September. Sorry, says it. It's an Aster. I think Elliot's birthday's in September because he's just said it's the best month. Isn't that pretty? Look at those colours there. That's really lovely. And then again, I'm not going to open it all out, but that is again that long strip, 43 inches long, of these complementary colours that go through. And these are sort of 2.5 inches wide. It's almost like jelly roll widths, isn't it? So you can do a lot with those. You don't have to do what we've done here. You could make all sorts of things with that, and you can use them individually or together. And that actually would make a nice border. So you could have the border like one of the strips. You could have that as a border down the side like that to extend the panel. Or you can use it as it is, so you can have it like a stripy border. So there's all sorts of things you can do. It's what you do with this is up to you. So this, that was September. So these are on the website. That's this one again, isn't it? Yes, that's the daffodils again. This, let's have a look. Oh, I like this one. Look at that. This is marigold, and this was October. That's really pretty. So this one cries out for French knots or beading on here. So this is lovely. And again, you've got the same kind of panel, so you can still do the same. You can do, I mean, this project I've done with the daffodils, as I say, you can use any of these panels for that. It doesn't have to be the one I've done. These are, okay, so these are not just our choice, these are the official flowers of the month. And again, you've got these lovely stripes in the different colours. So this is really lovely if you, anything for October. So you could do it for a wedding anniversary present or a birthday present with the actual flower of the month. Then we have, what's this one? Is this? Nan, so this is Nan's birthday. This is Rose, look at that. That would make a lovely wedding anniversary present. Yes, Kat, I agree with you, that would. Again, I love these little labels. Now, I've used my sewing machine to put my name in there, quilted by. But of course, if you haven't got that facility on your machine, you can do that by hand. Or you could even don't use a friction pen, because if they iron it or wash it, come out. But if your name's Rose, well, this would be perfect, wouldn't it? Not just for June babies, it could be for somebody who's called Rose. So you can put that on there. Or if your name's June. Yes, Elliot's just said, if your name's June, indeed. his dad's called June. Oh, no! I thought you said my dad's called June. I'm thinking, okay. No, dad's called Martin. Okay. So the next month, so that's that one. These are exciting, aren't they? So all of the previous months will be in stock for next month. But for now, we just have some of them. Ooh, this is February. This is the best month of the year, by the way. And this is violets. They smell nice too. Yes, see, the best people were born in February. No, I don't think so. I think this is the best. This is the best. Okay, so this is a lovely one. So these are these lilac colours. And actually what I quite like is that the different months have similar colours. So again, if you're going to put them together, it's going to complement and blend with each other, and that'll look really nice. They have their, yes. So Kat just said, imagine having a dinner party, and when we can, of course, not long now. And you can have placemats for each person, depending on their birth month. So that would be really sweet. And then this one is obviously Kat's birthday. What? July! Oh! Delphinium. This is a delphinium. That's going to hard for me to say. Delphinium. Oh, I can't say it. Delphinium panel. So again, it's that each of these panels are the same. I love the way that, they're Sewing Street panels. They've been done for us. We've got the little Sewing Street label on them. Good quality cotton fabric. Nice robust fabric. Printed on a white background. And again, you've got the 12 by 12 panel, and then you've got the complementary stripes to go with it to make something that goes together. That's really lovely. And all of the other month panels will be on the website shortly. And they all work in conjunction with these instructions. So you don't have to be daffodil. You could be anything you want. It's just $7.99 for the instructions on their own. Very simple project to make. And it's good and simple for beginners. because I like things that are simple to make. I'm going to do a bit of a demo, but what I want to do before, what I'm going to demo, I say that, and in the trolley, there's my mat I'm going to do. So I'm just going to explain this one first. So this is the 12 by 12 panel. So I've then cut the background, which I've cut out of the stripes, and I've cut that 2 centimetres or 3/4 of an inch bigger all the way round. If you can, you could cut it slightly bigger than that. Because what I then do is I use that background to fold over. So I folded it over 1/4 of an inch, 6 millimetres, and then again, and that becomes the binding. So it's a really quick way of binding. And it means that you can sew it all on the sewing machine, no hand sewing involved, and you get a neat back. It means that you're quilting the back at the same time as you're quilting the front. So I've done that on this mat as well. So step 1 is I actually use 505. If you've got it, you don't have to use it if you haven't, but if you have, it just helps keep the layers together. So I sprayed the backing fabric, put the wadding, which was cut to the same size as the finished mat, on top, centred it on top, so the backing is sticking out all the way around, sprayed the wadding, put the right fabric, the panel right side up, so that it's sandwiched as you want it to be. And then I got onto my sewing machine. And the first thing I did is a straight stitch around the inner panel, which is up to you. You can do that or you're not. And then I went to free motion and I free motioned this. This is called stipple strip or meandering stitch. And it's easy for beginners because you just wiggle the fabric around. So you're basically moving the fabric, so free motion stitching, and just sort of doing this wiggly stitch all the way around the border. And then I'm quite good at random. I'm better at random like that than, I mean, some people who do free motion, oh my goodness, amazing. And they can do so accurate. You can pre-draw your lines using your marking pen, your early bird marking pen. The other thing I did is I free motion stitch around the outside of the flowers. So the trick is, it's very quick. It's really, really quick. And it's very addictive. It really is. Once you get going, you can't stop. So you just go, it doesn't have to be perfect. So you just get the speed. So I get the speed at half. I put it on the half on your speed dial. Foot on the pedal, and away you go. And try and keep the speed even and the movement even. The faster you move, the longer the stitches will be. The slower you move, the tinier the stitches will be. So you want to get a nice even feed. Have a little practice. But anyway, so that's what I've done. I've gone around the flowers. I've gone around some of the inside of the flowers. You don't have to, you can. And then I've actually and this isn't in the instructions, so this is up to you if you want to do. I've just put some little beads on by hand right at the end afterwards. And it just makes a nice finish. You don't want big beads because obviously you're going to put things on top of that. So that's how I've done that. And then on the placemats, done exactly the same. Cut the backing fabric 2 centimetres bigger all the way round, 3/4 of an inch. If you've got a bit more, you can do a bit more because that's quite narrow to turn over. But because I was using the panel, I was restricted. And then having layered like before, I then quilted. Now you can, if you want to, you could quilt along the stripes. But I actually quite like this diamond grid that you can do very quickly, very easily. And that's the first thing I'm going to show you. So this is my panel. So you can see here, I've got my 3 layers and I've started quilting. So I've quilted diagonally across. So the first thing to do is you draw, using your friction pen, you draw a line all the way across from one corner to the other. So I did that with this one here. And then you stitch that first line. Now I increase the stitch length to 3. Because it's top stitching in its layers. And then once you've done that, you're then going to use your quilting guide, and I have another one in here as well as one in the machine. So this quilting guide, you often get this with the machine, or you'll get it with your walking foot. And what you do with that is you stick it in the back of your foot. Sometimes you'll have a hole to stick it through, and on this one you have like a little sort of wiggly. Can you see the back? and you just sort of push it down, and then you can pull it in and out. So once you've got it in there, you can determine how far away from your previous stitching you go, and you use that guide as your guide to follow. So you don't watch the needle, you watch the guide. But first row first. So I'm just going to see if I might have to take my shoes off to do this, by the way. I'm not going to use that at the moment. I'm just going to leave that there because the first row of stitching, I don't need it. So I'm just going to pop that under there. So I've got 2 layers of thermolam. Just put that needle down, and I just want to increase my stitch length. So I'm just doing that. So I've just increased it to 3. And then you just stitch your first row. I'm just going to slow that down. It's a speedy machine, this, isn't it? Have we got any of these in stock? Oh, this is... Oh, OK. I won't wax too lyrical about them at the moment, then. So I'm just going across, following that first line. I'm just going to take those, because I sort of prepared that ready to do a demo, so I'm just take those out of there. Okay, so that's my first line done, and now I want to sew the subsequent lines, but I want them to be an equal distance, the same as it was before. So to get that set up, I'm going to put it back over a line that I've already done. Just marry up the needle with the previous row, and then pull out my guide, so that my guide, that guide is quite short. Is it the same width as that one? I'm just going to check. That one looks like it might be slightly longer. I'm just going to put this one in. So this, on this machine, it just kind of clips in. That's better. So I've now got the guide running along a previous row, the row next to the one I'm going to sew. So I know that that distance between that guide and that needle will be exactly the same as I've already got. You can, if you haven't got a guide, then what you need to do is you need to measure it with a ruler and mark it on. But this is a much, much quicker way of doing it. So there's no previous measuring and marking. Now the only trick you have to remember is, so the guide is back there and the needle's in the front here. So when I'm sewing, what I'm doing is I'm watching the guide. I'm not watching my needle, I'm watching the guide. And I'm just making sure that the guide goes along that previous line of stitching. And then, so that's that one. And then I do the next one. So this is how quick and easy it is to do. So now I'm again on the previous line of stitching. So each time you go on the previous line of stitching. Let's pop that guide down. So this is a really, really quick and easy way of quilting. But it also leaves a really nice finish. So one more. And then you just turn it round in order to do the other way. So again, that's my centre line that I did just now. Move that across so it's under the guide, and then we do the next row. You can do this without a walking foot, but because I've got layers of thermolam and 2 fabrics, a walking foot helps prevent the fabric being pushed out of line, because what you can have if you don't have that is the top layer could be pushed further forward. So that's why a walking foot's a good idea. So again, put it guide on the previous row. The only thing you have to be careful of is that because the guide is behind the foot, sometimes you can keep sewing off the whole thing because you're watching the guide. So you kind of, as you get towards the end, you need to kind of watch both, because the guide is still back there, but I'm actually at the end here. So yeah, just be aware of that, that's all. Normally it wouldn't be the end of the world anyway, but because I've got the backing in place already, I don't want to go too far. And for speed, I'm not lock stitching, but I would normally lock stitch at the end of each row. Okay, so that is your quilted grid. And then using an iron, of course, I iron away that friction pen. And the next step then is this is your border that you have here. So you can see what I mean, I went a bit over there. So that's the border. Folded it 1/4 inch, 6mm, and then fold it again like that. And then I can put a clip. So I've used clips for this to go clip all the way around. When you get to the corners, I'm going to show this corner because I want to miter the corners. So that's my corner there. It's looking a bit scruffy because I'd had it folded. So I'm first of all folding in the corner like that. And I'm scrabbling around looking for some scissors. So I'm going to cut off that folded in corner. So I folded it in and pressed it. I cut off that corner. And it gets rid of the bulk in the corner, but it helps you miter the corner. I've got here my sewing clips. So I fold that corner back in again, and then you fold it in your 1/4 inch there, and then you fold it in again, and fold it in again that way. And what you're aiming to do is in that corner, you're bringing those edges together. It's going to be really difficult for you to see. It's a bit fiddly to do, and then it's a bit fiddly to see when I've got my fingers in the way. But basically you're folding it in to get a angle there on that corner. So if I show you the finished one, you've got an angle in the corner. And what I've actually done is I've then just hand stitched that corner flat afterwards. So sorry about that, bit of hand stitching. So we're just going to fold in those corners like that. And then again, we're starting halfway down one side or the third way. Never start on a corner. It's always better to start. Oh, my stomach's rumbling. It's always better to start. Sorry about that, if you could hear that. It's always better to start sort of halfway down and rather than starting on a corner, which is a weaker point. So I'm just going to start sewing that down. So it's very simple. Now, again, I've got the longer stitch length. I'll get back to that corner in a minute. Let's just put that there. I don't need the quilter's guide anymore, so I'll pop that out. And what I'm going to do, let me start halfway down one. I'm going to put it under the presser foot. I'm going to use the edge of my foot as a guide, but I'm going to move the needle across using my stitch width button. Because when you're on a straight stitch, this moves so slow. You can use this like point by point by point. So I'm going all the way over. Oh, this is not so good trying to use nails on these things. That's it. So I've now got it, and maybe even one more. I've now got the needle going down right in the outer edge of the binding. Okay, so they do it, and I am just going to decrease that. I'm going to make that 2.6 because on this, my machine at home, I have it at 2.5 or 3. There's no increments in between. So this one I'm going to try and do a bit less. I've got to show you. I know this is nothing to do with sewing. Look, look. Look at these shoes. Can you see them that way? Aren't they beautiful? Aren't they beautiful? Totally impractical. You could go on the jewellery channel, find some beads and start sticking beads to your shoes. Anyway, not practical for sewing with, but never mind, we're not worrying about that. So I'm just using that edge of the guide and then just sewing, and I'm just kind of doing it relatively slowly because what I want to do is I want to make sure it sews nice and neatly on that edge. And as I get to my corner, now if you have, I haven't got any, no, the embroidery scissors we had earlier, if you've got some embroidery scissors or actually a pin, haven't got a pin here either, you can kind of like hold that corner in place as you get to it. I'm just going very slowly. Oh, I've gone one too far, so I'm just going to go back. And then turn it round. And then holding that in place, off I go. I'm going to have to go because let's do that bit by hand. That's it. And then I can come back up this side. And this is what we're going to do all the way around. So you can see I'm going quite slowly because I want to make sure I'm sewing on that edge. Now, this one I've got white backing, but I'm using the yellow thread so you can see. You could use white thread, you know, if you're a bit worried about doing it really accurately, you can use a thread to match the binding on the top. And that way you won't necessarily see it that clearly. So I'm keeping it really relatively slow because I want to make sure I'm on that edge. And again, as we get towards the end, I'm just going to fold that corner which I've chopped off in, and then it's a double fold there and a double fold there, and you get a nice mitered corner in the corner. No, you're absolutely right. I was 5'6" and a bit. I was going to say when I was born, obviously not when I was born, but I'm probably 5'5.5" now. I think I've shrunk a bit. So thank you, Margaret, yes. And if you ever see me at the shows and you come up to the workshop booking desk, you might see me one height half the time and then I drop 6 inches when I take my shoes off. These shoes are lovely and comfy to wear sitting down. Oh yeah, I always look at those. I always look at their shoes and their boots to see what they're wearing. Got a little bit of thing about shoes, have I? Got a lovely pair for tomorrow. I'll show you tomorrow's pair. Actually, I started doing walking, and which is something I've never done before, and I'm really enjoying it. I mean, I walk all the time, but I mean, I'm just going for a walk, because obviously that's what we've been able to do. And I've been going for a lot of walks, and I have got walking boots, but one of my friends who I've known for sort of 26 years, her husband sort of said to her, "Wendy's walking. Is she wearing her high heels?" No, I have got walking boots. They're very nice though. They've got knitted colouring. I have got a pair of like Doc Martens with diamantes around the outside. So here we are to the next corner. And again, I'm just going to fold in that corner and then fold. It's all a bit fiddly, difficult for you to see, but fold it in like that. And as I say, if you've got a pin or embroidery scissors, you can actually kind of hold that in that corner. And then turn and off we go again. So this is how we do the binding. So this is a really quick way of binding, and you can use this method. I used this first on my very first quilt. This is how I did the binding on that, because I was a bit nervous about trying to quilt a big piece and shove it all under the machine. And I thought, that you had to kind of like roll it neatly. But my friend Jenny Raymond, who is quilter extraordinaire, amazing work, she says, "Oh no, you just scrunch it up and bundle it under." So I got more confident with that. But yeah, this is the way I did my very first binding. So just go along here. Yes, so quilting is not my first love, although I do like it, but it's not my first love. That most definitely is dressmaking, bag making, soft furnishings and things. But I am getting more into it because, it's something that people do. This is definitely for anyone, but my quilting tends to be, I'm struggling with this corner here, I should have pinned it all before. My quilting tends to be more basic, and I know a lot of our viewers are very skilled quilters. I see the stuff in the fan pages, and I'm absolutely staggered and impressed by how beautiful they are. So apologies to those that are really good at it, but this is for those that aren't. Yeah, we're all here to learn, and it's something that I think, even if you are a really expert quilter, it's actually quite good to have an alternative way of doing something. I'm just going to go back one. Okay, so this is the last little bit. Let's take that clip out, and then I'm very aware of the fact I'm perched on the edge of this stool, so if I suddenly disappear from view, it's because the stool's flipped away from me. And you are recording. Oh, good, good. I'm so pleased. And I'm just going to lock stitch in place. So just pressing the lock stitch button. So you start in the middle, you don't start on a corner, so each corner you do, and then you can see, if you look at this corner, let me look at one that's nice. No, look at this corner here, so you can see I've mitered it, sorry, to the left, can you see? You've got the mitre there, but then I would just hand stitch that down, just to hold it in place perfectly, and you do that, and the same here, look, this is even better, look at this one, wow. So just, even though I say it myself, yeah. No, I didn't even hear it. I said, wow, I was impressed with myself. So that's the way to mitre your corners. And you could just hand stitch that. So that is your mat. So that's a really, really quick, easy way of doing the mats. Now, the napkin rings. So what I found was, because there were 5 strips, I didn't need the 5th strip on the placemat because it would make them too big. I mean, you can use them if you want to. So what I did is I used the 5th strip to make little napkin rings. Very, very simply, I just cut a length, the measurements are on the thing, twice the length. The wadding's only half. Folded it in half, so it's a strip. So the strip was, I think it's about 14 centimetres. It probably says on there. So the strip is, whatever it is, preparation. No, you have to, I'm trying to read it quickly. Oh yes, cut the lighter strip to 2 lengths of 14. Yeah. So the lighter strip, so you cut the light, I use the lightest one. That's up to you. You could use a darker one, of course, and cut it into 2 lengths of 14 centimetres. I'm not sure what that is in inches. And then you fold it in half, right sides together. You've got wadding on half of that. Stitch through in the U, turn it through, easy to turn through from the stitched end, you kind of push it through with a ruler or something, and then slip stitch the opening, and then I used a piece of ribbon which I put down the middle, and I used a decorative stitch. This is when you can start playing with your decorative stitches. So I used a decorative stitch. This is one that's on most machines. It's kind of like the star stitch. I really like that flowery stitch. And then I just use a scallop stitch. And you sew one way down there, and then you turn it round to go back the other way. And by doing that, you'll get it mirror image. So it's very pretty, very simple to make, very, very quick. And then you can just tie up your ribbon to make your napkin ring. And if you wanted to, you could keep those, you could put a stitch in there to hold that together, or you can leave it like that. So it's up to you how you have it. So that's very pretty. And then it's using, I think there was, because I used 28 centimetres of the final strip, there was a bit left. There was a little bit left, so I could have made another napkin ring because I'd made it as a set of 2. Actually, I was thinking of my mum and Dennis, my stepfather. And so there's 2 of them. So that's why I was thinking in 2s. So that is the quick and easy make. Now, if you want the instructions only, you can buy those. So they are $7.99, and you can use this in conjunction with any of the panels. Indeed, you can use them in conjunction with plain fabric, with your rainbow, you can use them with anything, basically. There are instructions on how to make a panel. The only thing to remember if you're using it with something that isn't one of these panels is that centerpiece. But the trick is, whatever your centerpiece is, you cut your backing at least 2 centimetres wider all the way round. Okay? That's the easy way of doing that for whatever. But if you want the pattern and the panel, it's $14.99. This is that one, isn't it? I think. I don't know. No, this is it. There it is. So if you want the panel and the pattern, that's $14.99. If you want the panel only, you have to be very quick. Oh, less than 20 available now. We started with a few hundred. That's for the panel only, which is daffodils, and it's $9.99. So it's the panel, which is the whole piece of the 12 by 12, and, ooh, can you see that? I've got it upside down, apologies. So I just free motioned round the daffodils. You don't even have to do that. If you're not into free motion, you don't have to do that. That's up to you. You could do it by hand if you preferred. I'm sorry about it being upside down. No, that worries me. I can't do that. It's got to be up the right way. Yes, please do share. If you've made anything else from your Flower of the Month panel, please share, because we all love to see what other people are doing with their pieces of fabric, because there's always so many great ideas. So this is that, and don't forget we're also selling the Thermolam, which is this great heat resistant wadding. So you can use, and it's a nice big piece. So this is perfect. So we've got time. If you order it now, this project is very quick to make. So you've got time to buy it and make it for Easter as your springtime make. Isn't this better than chocolate? No, it's better for your figure than chocolate. You could make the panel into a gift bag. You could make it into an Easter egg hunt bag. So you can make that into a really lovely bag, and then you can have the stripes on the back. You could have a border of some of the stripes down the side. You could use the border to make handles. And if you were doing that, of course, if you want a lined bag, you then use one of your contrast complementary colours, which you could make lining out of. This is lemon. It's lemon or butter or vanilla or custard. So yes, we're calling this lemon. So this is 100% cotton, and you get 5 centimetres. So it's nice, good quality. Half a metre. Sorry, half a centimetre. Oh my goodness, it's only the 3rd hour. Yes, half a metre, not 5 centimetres. And it's I think it's $3.49, wasn't it? This is the gold. Look at that, this is a nice colour. Doesn't it? It goes really well with that panel. So that's lovely. And as I say, if you're actually not making it what we've done here, if you want to make it, you can use these contrasts as borders around the panel to make the panel bigger. And then the 3rd one is sunshine. This is really beautiful. This is my little dress, my little jacket to go with my little dress. So that are your 3 colourways. Now they're all Rose and Hubble quality, which for those of you who've bought before will know that's a really good quality cotton. It's a nice weight. They are quilting weight. But quilting weight fabrics don't be put off for dressmaking. Obviously, I revert everything to dressmaking. A lot of my clothes are made out of quilting fabrics. The cottons. This one isn't actually. I was going to say, no, not this one, but the one I'm wearing tomorrow is. So a lot of them are made out of, because it's 100% cotton. That's what they're made out of. This is actually a thicker one, so it's not lined. I bought this at the exhibitions. The exhibitions are coming back. They will be back. That's so exciting. Oh, that would be so good, because I know Sewing Street are sponsoring the beginners quilt category for the Festival of Quilts. Is that a secret? Anyway, you heard it. You didn't hear it. You didn't hear it here. If it's a secret and you shouldn't know about it, my name is Ruth. So yeah, it's coming back at the end of July. I can't wait. Can't wait. It's going to be so fantastic. And we hope, we definitely hope we're going to meet a lot of you there. We will, but also I have to say the safety measures that have been put in place for the exhibition are incredible, following all the government guidelines plus. So the classrooms are bigger, we've got an extra hall, the gangways are going to be wider, there's staggered entry times, there's longer opening times. Yeah. I know, it is, isn't it? It's a wonderful, wonderful idea. So let's recap the previous months. So this was March, that's that one. Let's go with the same colourway, but this was October. This was lovely, look at that. Sorry, because Kat's saying in my ear she thought that the only marigolds were washing up gloves, so she was imagining. But they're not. Actually, they're a really pretty flower too. And talking about names, some women, it's probably an older name now, it might have come back, but marigold was a name, a woman's name. So again, you might have that for yours. So if this is a gift for somebody, it's really nice to have the one for their month, isn't it? Yeah, I think you're stretching it there. If the name is Mary, close. Yes, if you're Mary Gold, this is just for you. So here it is, this lovely panel, and then each time, of course, you get the complimentary strips, which you can use, as I have, as the back of the table mat, or you can use it for something entirely different, or you can use it to add borders. So they're all complementary colours, and these also work with our yellows that we bought up today. So these, oh yes, we must say that, because these are exclusive to Sewing Street, and they have actually got that printed on, and and not that you're going to necessarily keep that bit, but it's quite nice to know that you're getting something that really is quite exclusive and special. This is one for June, and this is Rose. See, look, can you see there? Sewing Street, isn't that sweet? So this is for Elliot's dad, called June. Sorry, Martin. I did think it was odd, but you know. And I do like the fact you've got these little tags, which you don't have to use them, but I've used them and I've put them on the back and I've just hand stitched them. Okay, so June for now is sold out, but it will be back for next month if you're looking at doing the final flower of the month and combining them all into making a fabulous quilt. So that's that one. Then I like the lilac ones. We've got the two lilac ones. One of them is lavender, wasn't it? Oh, this is violet. This is February, isn't it? I didn't know that was my flower, violet. So that's pretty. I love those colours as well. Elliot says it's not a popular month. Yes, it is. It is. It's a good month. It's my birthday. Makes it good. It's Valentine's Day. It's Elliot's girlfriend's. It's a very good month. It's my niece. She's on the 3rd. 6th. She's on the 6th. It's one of my nephews. So yes, it's a really good month. We have no favourites. So this is the February one, and then we also have it in September. But I think what looks so nice is that they all work together. So, you know, if you are thinking of a big quilt, so these ones have got sort of same stripes look. That's the flower on this one. This is an aster, but it has got a pop of yellow, which brings the yellow ones back in, so it looks nice together. You know, you've got the two colours coming in. So it's really lovely, and I think the print on them, it cries out. I'm really into sort of adding hand stitching and embroidery and things and beading. It cries out for that you can add a little bit of hand stitching, a little bit of beading, the free motion. You don't have to, as I say. There's no reason to do that if you don't want to, but I just think it would be lovely to do. It's adding that. So that's that one. That was September, and then we've got 2 left, I think. We've got this one. Oh no, this is the daisy again, the daffodils. I call it a daisy as well now, Elliot. And this is the last one. Oh, so it's sold out for now, but I'll just quickly show you so that you can plan ahead for next month. If you just keep checking on the website, you'll find it coming in. So there it is. That's July, and it's a problem for me. It's a delphinium. So that's really lovely. So our final show of Flower of the Month will be on the 5th of April, and it will be with Rebecca. So watch then. And we have a complete roundup of all of these different panels and an idea of what to do with them all together. So I think they are fabulous. So we have those. I know I keep going on about these. We have still got them, have we? Just want to mention these friction pens again, because I use them, as you could see on the mat that I use. I use them all the time. They really are handy to have, and particularly good to have in this little case, so it keeps them all together. Good saving too. So it is a good thing to get. Just thought I'd mention that. So after the break, we are going to welcome Clive back. And this time he is going to make a very simple McCall's wrap skirt with side pockets. Simple to make, quick to make. You can use your patchwork cotton, so you can use the fabrics, which we will have on. We'll have some fabrics on the show, so you can see those as well. Nice and simple to make. He's going to show us how, and it is a style that will suit like virtually everybody, and it's forgiving because you haven't got a fit to the waist, have you? Because you can wrap it a bit more, you can wrap it a bit less. So it's really good, and he's going to show how to do a very simple narrow hem as well. So we will see you after the break.
Follow Sewing Street and Yarn Lane on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with what's coming up on the show, as well as being the first to know about our amazing offers. Get involved with our competitions that are exclusive to social media. And pick up some top tips from us too. In need of a crafting fix? There are so many ways you can watch Sewing Street and Yarn Lane. Sewing Street is live from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. every day on Freeview 72 and Sky 670. Alternatively, if you want to watch us on a tablet or on the move, you can tune in on our YouTube channel, the Sewing Street app, or the websites at www.sewingstreet.com and www.yarnlane.com. You can watch past shows on Sky 670 from 1 p.m. every day, as well as our YouTube channel, the app, and our website. Yarn Lane is on from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Visit our programme guide to find out when and what's on. So you never have to spend a minute without us.
Hello, my name's Rachel Ilsley. Let me show you around my beautiful sewing studio, Magnolia. My sewing studio is in Wootton Bassett, and on a daily basis I alter and dressmake for bridal customers. All my brides are absolutely wonderful. You can see I make waistcoats, bridesmaids' dresses, anything really they ask me for. Now, my sewing story started as an adopted child. And my adoptive mother was also a seamstress, so she taught me everything I know. So I feel extremely lucky to be able to now be doing this as a profession. Also very proud am I to be now a part of the Sewing Street family, and I so look forward to being on the shows with all of your support, which I know that I have. My claim to fame. Well, I did appear on another sewing channel in last November, on the 7th of November. Some of you may have watched it. And so that was my little claim to fame. So I've just literally risen from a full-time insurance job to sewing as a profession. I look forward to seeing you all. Bye!
We know that shopping online can be a confusing and sometimes daunting task, and sometimes all you want to do is talk to a human being. Well, our family-run customer service team are on call 24/7. They're full of friendly, warm-hearted individuals, all trained to make your shopping experience as easy and as enjoyable as possible. And not only will they take your order, they will also help and guide you on your shopping journey, so you never miss out. Hi, welcome back, and thank you for joining me, Wendy Gardner. And this is our final hour of Sewing Street before we go to Yarn Lane. But I am joined by the lovely, delectable Clive.
Hello again.
Hiya. In his lovely shirt. If you weren't here with us earlier on today, this shirt is designed by his husband Mark
Francis. It will be available soon on Sewing Street.
He's designing a pattern, and it will be an exclusive to Sewing Street. So it's in the design process at the moment, so watch this space.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's going along, but yes.
I know you've made that
Spring
for a man,
colours.
but that would work for a woman as well.
So I think we're going to do a pattern hack of it as well, to turn it into a dress.
Yeah. It's a bit like almost like a
with
shirt
tie,
waster, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So we just kind of, well, we haven't actually made one yet, but we're gonna make one and see what it looks like.
Yeah. But this hour, anyway, that's beside the point. That's entirely beside the point. This hour is on this lovely McCall's pattern. The McCall's patterns are one of the oldest pattern brands. And we've got the two patterns here. It's the same pattern, but they come in two size ranges. So starting with the 8 to 16, which is this one, and you can tell because it has it on the side. So this is 8 to 16. Now I have to say, and please be aware, and this is actually with any pattern that you use, when you're looking at that, if you see size 8, don't think that's your high street size. It's not. A pattern size is not the same as the high street size, particularly on these ones. So you do it by measurement. So you take your waist measurement, compare that to the sizes, which are, you can see them on the website, sewdirect.com, or you can look on the pattern flap and it will tell you. So a waist for a 14, for instance, is 28 inches. No, it's not. So what you'll find, if you're shop size 14, the chances are you will have to make an 18. But that doesn't matter because nobody knows what size you've made. That's up to you. But that's what you do. You're going to check your waist and you cut that one. So that's a sort of, and that is for any pattern, to be honest. You check your measurements. So this is for the 8 to 16. And on the back of the pattern, as we saw earlier with the So Different patterns, there's so much information, there really is. A really important thing to always look at are the line drawings. So these little line drawings give you a clearer understanding of the construction in that it will show you pocket placement, zip placement if it's appropriate, etc. And you can see that more clearly on a line drawing than you can on a fashion fabric which may be swirling around and swishy. It tells you the finished garment measurements, and that's really important too. This is giving you the length. It's giving you hip as well on the straight ones, which is important for that. On the tissue, you see finished measurements too. Not so important for a skirt like this because this is an easy fit, but for some of the dresses we were looking at earlier, sometimes they're made to be worn loose and baggy. So you can look at the finished garment measurements and you look at your body measurements and you see the difference. And you can see whether it's got an inch of ease, 2 inches of ease, or 11 inches of ease. So you will know that whether it's supposed to be big and baggy, and you might think, actually, I don't want it that big and baggy, so you make a smaller size. So, and that's when you make your toile.
Yes.
to test which size to make. So all of that information's there. We also have sizes 16 to 24. So in measurements, that is 16 is a 30-inch waist to 39-inch waist. Okay, so that's a 16 to 24.
About me, actually.
About you, is it? What, you're the
38.
30-inch?
38-inch waist. So I did actually try that on.
So this one you've made.
At home, yeah.
Yeah, so this is just an example. So this one that Clive has made as our example, you made as a size 24.
Yeah, 24.
And it's on our 18 model.
Yeah.
So you see what we mean about the sizing can be 2 or 3 sizes out. So measurements, measure your body first. Even if you've done them, I always do. I always measure. I always sit and read the instructions through, and I've been using these patterns for at least 40 years. I sit and read the instructions through with a cup of coffee. Kat's just said you're not over 40. I think you need your eyes tested. I am. My oldest is 26. Yeah. So everybody here could probably be my child. Yeah.
Me?
Yes, you could. Oh, yes, you could.
I'm 42. I don't think I could.
Yeah.
Could I?
You could.
Okay.
I'd be young, but you could. Anyway, enough. So we also have some fabric bundles. Now what we've done is we've got these. This is a cotton, and it's just plain. It's a really beautiful colour. I've got 2 labels on here, guys. So this is a piece of 4.5 metres, would you believe? Now this skirt pattern does require 4 metres, and that was on a size 14, so it's probably we've gone for the higher one. So it's plenty to make this skirt. You do need a lot. It's basically a circular skirt, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I can open this up a bit. I won't try and open up 4.5 metres.
I'll show that as well.
Oh,
I
yes.
mean, this is just one side.
So that's just one. Can you see Clive's there? That's one side.
That's one side of the skirt.
So Clive is using the fuchsia, which I haven't got a panel to show you. So that's a fuchsia. It's like a candy floss pink. I think it's looking lighter on the screen. It's very pretty pink,
Yeah,
very
it's really
summery.
lovely. It's very nice.
Yeah.
It's going to flow lovely.
So all of these are on the website. So this is the blue. Isn't this a beautiful blue? So there's plenty here, and the price of this 4.5 metre piece is $29.99. I can't work that out per metre, but it isn't much.
Would you call that like a petrol blue?
Yeah, I think so. It's sort of
Yeah.
a petrol blue, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice.
So that's lovely. Shall we go? So this is the beige. 4.5 metres. It would go with anything.
Absolutely.
It's
such a summer colour, isn't it?
It is. It's not my colour, as you probably guessed.
But you could on the top half, you could match it with something completely out there.
You could, exactly. So if you made a shift dress or something like that with this, and plenty, you could then make a really bold jacket.
Yeah.
So you can have your smart dress for day when you're in the office, and then you can then have a really bold colour or chunky jewellery or something. Be an Esme.
Yeah.
And have her big chunky jewellery to
Especially with this one, it's got pockets.
Yes.
She likes pockets.
Yes. I like pockets.
Yeah.
You've got to put pockets in. Is this sunshine? Sure it's not lemon? Or corn yellow. This is corn yellow. So this is really lovely. Again, don't forget it's 4.5 metres. So that's plenty to do this skirt or quite a lot of other things.
Yeah,
isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, it's a lot of fabric.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
get
if
a
you
lot of projects out.
if I were making a full skirted dress, I would use 3.5 to 4. So you'd even get that out of this.
Easily.
So it is really, really lovely. Lovely fabric, nice weight of cotton. And then finally,
that's a lovely
look at this.
Look at that.
Scarlet, isn't that?
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's going to pop walking down the street,
Wouldn't
isn't
it?
Yeah.
You really feel sassy,
Imagine
wouldn't you?
somebody with a poodle, with a beret, striped top, with their shades.
Looking cool. With their heels.
Yes,
Got to be wearing
with
the heels. Or you could be wearing my bother boots with me diamantes around the outside.
Exactly.
That's a kind of younger look, isn't it? So really that's lovely. So we've also got, digressing, we've also got some prints here. Now these aren't such big packs, are they? So what we have here, These are by the ½ metre, but can we buy them in multi so you get a bigger piece? Yes. So if you buy 2 metres, 3 metres, 4 metres, it's just the number of units, and it will come as one piece. These are all Michael Miller fabrics, and this is called Victoria Gardens. This says daffodils on beige. I don't think it's daffodils. It's the right fabric, but it's not daffodils. It's pretty flowers on the beige. But I like that, because although you've got the beige, those flowers pop, don't they?
Yeah.
Look at that. And if I just, don't want top of my head, but if I just bring that in, that kind of goes well with that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's gonna work, isn't it?
It is, definitely. So that's really lovely. So these are in ½ metres, remember. So you would need, if you wanted this for the skirt, you're going to have to buy 8.
Definitely.
Is that right?
How wide is
They're
that?
½ metre.
Oh yes, yeah.
So you'd have to buy 8, wouldn't you, of those?
Let me just double check that.
This one here, so again, this is this lovely lemon colour, but with a little flower. And again, you see they go beautifully together, so you could team those. In fact, so does that. So you could actually mix these together if you wanted to do some blocking. It would look really lovely.
Well, 4.5.
So again, this is this one here, £7.49 for the ½ metre. We do need 4 metres, yeah?
4.5.
4.5.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need 9 units to do this skirt, unless you're buying the plain, in which case you just need the one bundle. So this is, yes, this is really lovely. This is a lovely little flower. And then the next one, look at this. Ah, this is Liberty. You can feel it, actually. When you feel it, you can feel that quality. You can, yeah, I can feel those old timbers of the Liberty building. So yeah, this is lovely, lovely little print. This is kind of like a traditional Liberty print, isn't it? This little ditzy print. So that's really nice. But I do like the way actually it coordinates with these as well.
This pink would go nice with that.
It would, wouldn't it? Can you flick it over? Thank you. Look at that.
There you go.
So that would look really nice. And in fact, one of these views in here, you have to, not have to, you can line it, or part of it, can't you?
Yeah.
So you could do that, couldn't you? You could line it in the plane.
Flash of kind of pink.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would look...
Especially when you're trotting down the street with your poodle.
Yeah, with your poodle. You have to have a poodle.
I don't know. I think a poodle kind of suits.
You kind of think a
this
poodle.
skirt, yeah.
And it's got to be trimmed with all these like little frilly legs and things, does it?
Yeah. Diet pink. No, I'm joking. Don't do that to dogs.
Please don't dye a dog.
Well, they do. People do that.
Oh, I know. Please don't. So the next one is blue. So these are sort of all the pinks. This is another Liberty. Look at this, is lovely. This
nice.
this is much more classic, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is lovely. I like that. So see, I can see that in a nice shift dress. I can see that in a shift dress. It's definitely all sorts you can make with that. You can make a full skirted dress. You can make
stuff is great
oh yes.
as well, isn't it?
So what is this? £7.49 for ½ a metre. So that makes it sort of £16 a metre.
Well, the biggest
That's not bad.
size on here is it's. Hang on, let me see. 4.3 metres it recommends.
Yeah.
So
it does take quite a lot, but if you were to buy a Liberty dress or a Liberty skirt...
That's the full length, because
yes.
this also comes, you can buy it in a different length
yes.
as well. So,
and of course this pattern has a straight skirt as well, so of course you don't need so much fabric for the straight round.
No.
So if you wanted to, but you thought 4.5 metres at that, but even so, you bought a Liberty print dress or skirt, you'd be paying a lot more.
Well, exactly. So
that is beautiful. Final fabric. So this is one that you've used. Oh, this is one I saw earlier. This is one that's on the mannequin over there. I know this fabric. Where have I seen this? So this is this lovely one, which is, as you can see, now I think it's really good to see it made up.
A little, I mean, it drapes lovely.
It does drape beautifully, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah. So I'll say, don't ever think of quilting weight cottons as only being for quilting. And I apologise to quilters that think that I'm wrong to use them for dressmaking. But I think they're lovely. So, yes, I'm going to introduce it. Did you use this turning tool, Clive, to turn your waistband?
Yeah, I'm going to use one.
So this is a prim turning tool, and you've got different ones for different pieces, and basically you put the tube up through the tube of fabric you've created, and then you use the inner straw thing, the dowel, to sort of push it through to the tube.
I'm actually going to demonstrate that.
You're going to
first.
demonstrate. Oh, great.
Yeah.
She's going to demonstrate. So it's really good. So it's an alternative to a rouleau loop turner, which always comes undone halfway through your loop, doesn't it?
They're not
And
very reliable. These are brilliant.
and this comes in 3 sizes. So you've got one for your fatter tubes, and then you've got a nice thin one for your little rouleau loops.
Yeah.
So that's really handy. And of course, instructions. Now, I'm now going to sit down but sit up, so I'm not slouching, and take my feet off of my weight off my feet, and you're going to demo.
I am. So, hello again. On this piece, I've just used it's the same width as the pattern for the ties at the side. This is for the ties. I've just cut it shorter just for demonstration purposes,
Yes.
that's all. So we're just going to fold that over. We don't press it, and this will become clear later on. Again, pin it, but I'm not going to, because sometimes on straight seams I don't think you need to.
If you've cut it well, you shouldn't need to.
Exactly. And I think I've cut it pretty well.
As it twists as you do it.
Famous last words. And we're just going to start on the shorter side, so it's almost kind of like you're sewing an L shape. So you're going to go down here and up the longer part. It's 1.5 centimetres seam. Oh, there we go. Would have if I press that. 1.5 centimetres seam allowance.
5/8 for the old people.
5/8. See, because I'm such a...
'Cause you're young.
Yeah, sorry for anybody that's watching. And then we're just going to pivot. Now you can usually use my eye. Just go one more. There we go.
And of course, you know, if you want to be superbly accurate there, you can use your friction marking pen to mark your pivot point, can't you? And then it's easier to do that.
And then we're going to sew all the way down. I can speed this up, can't I?
You should have have you not got a slidey dial on the middle of the machine? Because you've got a jukey, haven't you?
I've got one, but the one at home is already on kind of automatic, you know.
Automatic. It's a lovely machine, this. So I love the sound.
I call it motorway sewing. Yeah, when you go fast. Just put your foot down and go. You can't always do that on curved seams, but you know,
especially when you're trying to ease in as well.
And then it goes off all the way to the end, so we're leaving that obviously end bit open, and that will get tied into the waistband later. But just for this demonstration purposes, we're just going to do this. Let me get my tool.
So for this one, you can use your fat one.
Yes. So what we do is, just take that bit out. So you take that out, you pop that in there, let it go all the way to the bottom. Actually, before we do that, we trim the have we got a rotary cutter anywhere?
We did. I think there's one behind you, but I don't know where the mat is. Oh, you've got a mat in front of you.
Oh yeah, there's
yes.
one there. So we're going to trim the edge. Let me just take that back out quick. Sorry. There we go. On the corner, we're just going to cut it at an angle so we get a nice crisp, being careful not to obviously cut into the sewing. And then we're going to go down to about 3 or 5 mil, it's fine. You can use a ruler if you want to, or you can just be very careful and eyeball it. Sorry, I'm chucking that on the floor. Always put the lock on when you're finished. So we're going to pop that down. The tube.
Does it matter which way the tube goes in? Is it the same both ends?
No, it doesn't matter. It's so they're slanted on both sides.
Okay, so it doesn't matter which way up you put it.
Pop that in there, all the way to the end. Now this has got like a pointy end and a flat end. For this, I use the flat one.
Yep.
Just because I don't want the
pointy end to go through the
material. And you just push that in. So we've gone into the hole, if we can see there. we're just pushing it in all the way down, and you can see it's popped out the other end. So you can now take that out and release that quick.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Very easy.
Very easy. When you buy one of these, you'll never...
You never look back. You never look back again.
You'll never look at a ruler loop ever again.
I like the fact it comes with the skinny one.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, to turn the thicker ones through isn't a huge issue. That was super fast. But it's the thin ones that can be problematic, isn't it?
Yeah. So what I'm going to use this for, the pointy end of the doweling in the turning tool, is just pushing out those corners just in the end there. Remembering to remove the bit of wood before you sew it to the garment, because that's not going to work. I'm going to flip that over.
Yeah. Elliot wants to know, have you actually done that at any point?
No. What does he take me for? Oh, how do you get this iron off?
Oh, there's on the back of it. There's
got it.
Yeah, have you got it?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, it's quite nifty. It's got this lock so that if it's on the top and somebody pulls at the lead, it won't fall off.
Right.
That's so you can lock it in place.
And then what we want to do, sorry, Wendy, and then what we want to do with this is then just use our fingers and roll the edges out. Now this could be quite cathartic, I suppose, because we want... Why is that leaking?
It's probably not up to steam yet, is it? So what you can do if you're struggling to get that seam on the very edge, if you wet a sponge
Yeah.
in a dish and then you wet your fingers, and that actually helps roll it out.
Well, I was going to say that, but
but I'm just thinking.
I lick my fingers.
So do I.
And I just. But actually, I've just had a bit of water from the iron, so that's kind of helped.
Yeah.
So it just helps
If
it
you're making
kind
it
of.
for yourself, you can lick your fingers, but obviously if you're making it for anybody else.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that live. At home, I licked my fingers. And the skirt was quarantined before, so yeah, it should be all right. It's fine. I'm not going to press it all because I have actually already made these, but if
So
you...
So you just need to press it. But as you say, it is important to roll that seam to the edge, isn't it?
Just finger and thumbs and just kind of roll it, and then you'll get it looking nice and neat, like that. And that's right on the edge. You probably can't even see that.
That's because it's so perfectly on the edge.
Right, that's that bit done. Chuck that on the floor. With your waistband, this is all prepping stuff that I always kind of do first. Like all the fiddly bits. I mean, I've made.
So that you're not following the instructions step by step then, because they won't say that in the instructions, and that's another reason to read them through first, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
read them all through, and then you can do that.
Yeah, you can kind of just like do it in your own kind of order. There are certain things that come in order.
Yes.
But I think with something like this, it's a good starter, and follow the instructions if you're a beginner. If you're not, look at the pattern, look at the instructions, and decide, actually, I'm going to do these bits first.
Yeah, exactly. I do exactly as you say. And what the other thing, because you have to press every seam before you sew over it again.
Yeah.
I'll often do lots of the straight seams out of sequence, but because I can do that, press the lot and then go back.
Exactly.
So, but you can do that once you're experienced.
There are certain things that you have to do within
in the right
instructions
order.
In the right order. But with this, I don't think it's really necessary to follow it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
I've interfaced that. I don't know if you've got any interfacing.
Yes, we had some on the show earlier. We had a lightweight one and we had a medium weight one.
Yeah, so that's a medium weight.
I was going to say I'd go medium weight for this.
Yeah, and I've already pressed over a 1.5 cm seam for when we put the waistband on the top of the skirt. Yeah. So that's something that I've prepped already. And also, when you're prepping things like this, if you notice, I've got pins. These are the notches and the marks of the side seams, the pockets where they sit, and the obviously the notches at the front and the back as well. That's important to pop those in, because when this is a straight piece of fabric and it's going on a curved waistline because of the way the circle skirt's cut. So that's just something that I like to do, because when I'm lining it all up, it just fits perfectly.
Yeah,
like,
you
hurrah.
match up your match points.
Yeah.
And then you can ease in between.
It just saves you so much time, I think.
I know this is, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it again, back to the friction pens.
Yeah.
But you'd have to do it after you've put your fusible on, because obviously if you do it beforehand...
Yeah, after fusible. Yeah.
You then iron them off.
Yeah, no, don't fuse your sandwich, your pins in between.
Do you know the other thing I always do? And that's I keep the pattern tissue piece with the fabric piece until I use it. So again, if you do accidentally forget to cut your notches or not transfer your marks, you've got the tissue piece there. You haven't got to go raiding through your envelope to try and find it.
Yeah.
So I just always keep it folded with it.
I usually do, but I think because when you prepare a garment, you know, and you've put all your notches in, you put all your pins where they need to go, if you're a competent sewer, then you can just... But also it is good for, in case you miss that one notch and you think, oh, where is that? Then you have to get, like you say, you have to get the
go
pattern piece
rooting
out.
through it. So it's a lot easier if it's just there folded with it.
I mean, in the last hour, I was kind of like, oh, I know, which side have I sewn? I need to kind of sort that out.
But it doesn't help when it's the same both sides either, does it?
So this is obviously the front piece, and on the front, what I did was just turn it over half centimetre, about 7/8 of a centimetre, and then again, just to kind of have that nice neat finish.
But that will say that in the instructions. It will tell you how much to turn over and how to do it.
Yeah.
And the instruction sheet is step by step, all the way through with illustrations, so you can actually work your way through it if you're a beginner and you need that extra help.
This is a great project for a beginner. The steps are really easy to understand. Yeah, so don't stress out.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Exactly.
So I'm just going to sew that first kind of seam down. I've already pressed it over once and over again.
So it's just a double turned.
Yeah. And then I just literally go on the edge, so it's all kind of nice and neat. You don't need to worry about back stitching because you're going to be turning that up later. And again, once you've pressed something like this, you don't need to pin it.
You shouldn't need to pin it. If you're working with sort of more springy fabrics, you might need to.
You might need to.
Or use the quilter's clips, of course.
Yeah, I need to think about start using those actually.
You know, same here. I only just started using them, and they are really, really good. The only thing I have found when I was doing the placemats is they're great for holding the edges together, but you have to take them out before you take a pin out.
Right, yeah.
Because they're bulky and they obviously won't go anywhere near the foot.
No.
But you can't accidentally go over them, that's for sure.
No. And you're not going to prick yourself with them either, are you?
And if you drop them, they're easy to find.
If we could count on how many, times I've pricked myself, and I think Mark did it on here last time he was on, he pricked his finger live on air.
Yeah, and you know what the best thing to get the blood out of the fabric is?
What's that?
Your own saliva.
Oh yeah, I heard that.
But it has to be your own.
Can't be anyone else's.
No. It's your own enzymes that work.
And all I'm going to do is I'm going to press that down and just let the stitches relax into the fabric.
Yes.
It's really important that you press at every point.
Yes, and not only does it make it look a lot better, as you say, you're embedding the stitching into it. And if you're working with stretch fabric or curve, and you might feel a bit rippled, but when you press it, it's straight.
Yeah, it just kind of lays itself and it's like it goes to bed almost.
Yeah.
To sleep. Right, so we're going to put the pockets in next. And this is the only part of the pattern that only requires a centimetre seam allowance. That's for when you on the, let me just see if I can show you. Can we get a close-up, please?
Yeah, if you're, I mean, these side seam pockets are super easy to do, and
Yeah,
which
they're
Clive's going to show you. But if you're a bit nervous, if you're absolute beginner and you're a bit nervous, or if you're very hippie and you don't want pockets, who doesn't want a pocket? But if you don't have to, you could just sew that side seam without.
There we go, the shadow. So the reason why it's a centimetre, so the seam just sits nicely inside, so it's almost invisible when
you've got the pocket.
Yeah, when you've done it. There you go.
Oh, I see. Talking about colour blocking, you could have poppy colour in there.
Yeah, you could, yeah. Or that the pink one inside.
Yeah.
That'd look good. So I've pinned them on, and they just go to the top. So normally if you've got pockets that sit a bit further down, then obviously you'll have notches on the pattern that will tell you that. But for this one, you just basically match it to the top of the waistline.
So the downside of using this fabric is you can't tell, but you've put them right sides together, haven't you?
Yeah. So hopefully, when we're done, I'm going to have a left side and a right side.
But you know, as I said earlier, if you have a fabric like this that you can't tell, mark the wrong side of every piece with a friction pen, with a chalk pen, with even a cross of pins, so that you always make sure you put them the same side together. Because even if they look as if it's exactly the same front and back, sometimes it's not in daylight.
I think as well, this goes to prep. You know, when you're prepping, make sure that you've got everything the right way. Lay out on the table, your dining room table, or on the floor, and just go, okay, right, that looks right. I'm going to put it all together. Now on the pattern, it does tell you to do the centre back seam first, but actually, I think with this, it's easier to kind of make both the halves, so you can do it the opposite way around, so you know then that you've got a left and a right. Rather than doing the back, because the back seam is just a straight seam. It just goes straight down. So that's that one. Let's do, what's that piece? That's the front. Let's do the back. See, I already pinned these in
So
in
you
the
know
last hour, so I knew.
You know you've got a front and a back of the
Famous
pockets.
last words you watch now. It'd be like, oh, we seem to
I
have.
can't remember who it was, but I always remember on the Great British Sewing Bee, and somebody had put their jacket sleeves in the wrong arms, so they kind of had them. One sleeve went backwards and one went forwards.
I think that was Nicole, if my memory
it might
serves
be,
me,
yeah,
or
it
it might
was-
even been. I think Mark did do something like that. Maybe.
I mean, it is, well, as we were saying earlier, it is so pressurised, that sewing, isn't it? And they have like a team of cameramen all around them all the time, so you can't, if you make any little mistakes and you try and cover it up, they pick up because they're watching
I think
you.
what Mark said was when, you know, he'd say, oh gosh, because they're mic'd up, the story producer would be there, a cameraman would be there like, what's going on?
Yes, yeah, what's the matter, what's the matter?
Yeah, what's the matter? So, of course, I think some of them learnt to kind of keep their frustrations to themselves.
I think the worst one I saw was, I can't remember which series it was, but they were making ties. And one of the contestants, it was quite far on, and one of the contestants, who was a brilliant sewer, she could not make this tie. She could not work out how to fold it and do it.
Oh, bless.
And, you know, it is relatively simple, but of course she got herself into quite a tizzy.
Well, you can do, can't you?
And she was in tears, and I just kind of felt, I'm sure the other contestants would have been helping her.
Yeah.
But it wasn't good TV, was it?
No.
So they want to show
They want
this,
tears,
don't
they want drama.
Yeah.
So we're going to press this seam towards the pocket. This is important for later on. I'll do the other one.
I'm laughing because in my ear, Kat's saying she's just opened, I'm sure she's just opened a tin of lemonade or something, but there's Elliot saying it's beer. She's saying it's actually gin and tonic.
Well, it is Saturday. It's a bit early. It's a bit early for gin and tonic.
Bosses, I know it's a joke. It is just a soft drink.
Can you imagine?
So
walking
half
in.
the stock of both of these pattern sizes have gone. So just to remind you, it's the same pattern in both, but there's 2 different size ranges. And that basically just limits the amount of cutting lines there are on each of them. So you have one size range. Which one are you going for first? So the first one is 6 to 24, which is this one. And it says it on the side of the pattern. And then the other one is 16 to 24. So, sorry, it's 8 to 16. The first one is 8 to 16. The second one is 16 to 24. So you just need to know, which size you go. Read the graphics there, and do please remember that size 16 is not your ready-to-wear size. Size 16 on here is with a waist of 30. So bear that in mind. If your waist is much more realistic, 32, you might have to go for the bigger size.
Like a real person.
Yeah, if you're in between, that's going to depend on you. Now the waistband will be on this skirt, of course, it's a wrap, so you can wrap it slightly more, you can wrap it slightly less. So it's got a good crossover. It's got the front's virtually all crossed over, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's got a really good front crossover, so it won't matter. The only thing, of course, is it has got side seams and side pockets, so you want them to be pretty much on the sides. But yes, you can get away with an inch or 2 difference there. So
and I think it's a perfect post-lockdown garment.
Yes, definitely.
When we are able to go out and kind of have picnics and things, which I think
are we allowed to do that now?
I think it's going to be. Is it now or is it soon? I'm not sure.
I think can't you have a picnic with one person? Because you can have a coffee whilst you're out. But I think you can also picnic, but only with one person and only in a public space.
Yeah, so this is going to be perfect for that, isn't it?
It is. And then as you slim down, because you're out of lockdown and we're not eating the bad things.
Yeah, it's a very sizable garment that will kind of see you through until we're all svelte and lovely and slim again. Well, for the ladies anyway. Or for the men that like to wear ladies' clothes.
I don't feel I should have put on weight during lockdown because I've started walking. When I say that, I mean I always walk, but I mean I've started going for walks. I haven't just done it once. I do 3 or 4 a week, and I do quite nice long walks. That's all you can do, isn't it? And I'm lucky to live in a nice part of the country, so I walk on the beach and things.
I've put on like 2 stone.
Oh God, have you?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, no, I've put on about half a stone, but we would never have known Clive in that lovely beautifully fitted shirt.
I was going to the gym a lot before.
Oh, yes, no, don't do
so
gym.
I'm just waiting for the gyms to open back up now.
No.
Hopefully soon. Anyway.
I'm hoping that I'm going to keep up my walking though.
Yeah.
The friends I walk with.
Well, the thing is, you've made time to do it.
To work,
you need to carry on. So while we've been chatting, I've just been pinning the right sides together at the side seam.
But with the pocket sticking out.
With the pocket sticking out.
Yes.
So we're going to make sure that ear is like that. And we're going to sew all the way down here up to this point. We just sit that back in there. And then down the side. And then we snip, but I'll show you that when I've sewn it.
When we get to that point.
Ooh.
So I love this because this is actually something you can do for any garment that has side seams. You can put a pocket in.
Yeah.
So it's quite an easy thing to do. You just have to draw the pocket shape if you don't have a pocket template.
Yeah, I mean, it just looks like an ear, an upside down ear.
Oh, so I would put what I would do is I put my hand down and I draw around that loosely and then a bit bigger. And then the opening needs to be at least sort of 6 inches.
Yeah.
Or, 18 centimetres, 15 centimetres, whatever.
That's quite...
Yeah, so quite a nice opening to put your hand in so it's not too snug because you're going to lose some with seam allowance.
You don't want it, you want to be able to put your hand in it.
Yes.
Again, 1.5 centimetres on this one.
So the only seam that you did 1 centimetre was that attaching the pocket to the sides. Yeah.
It just disappears those seams. Yeah, it just disappears those seams.
But I say the instructions will tell you that. And on these...
Well, I don't think they tell you why, though.
No, they often won't tell you why.
They just kind of tell you
Yeah,
to do it, so
that.
you
just follow blindly.
Yeah, you just follow it and go, okay.
So on these, this is tissue. So the other patterns we had earlier were made on paper. This is tissue. There's advantages and disadvantages with tissue versus paper. Advantages with tissue, I feel, easier. You could use your, this is in my opinion, so you can actually use your dressmaking shears. It won't damage them too badly. But also you can tissue fit, which you can't do with the paper. The advantages of the paper is it's more robust, it will last longer. So, I think there's swings and roundabouts with these things as to which you prefer.
But if you wanted, say if you didn't want to cut the pattern out, you can use, people use baking paper, don't they?
Yes, yes.
So you could trace it off, use baking paper, and then you've got a pattern. If your friend says, oh, I love your skirt, where did you get that from? Be like, oh, I can make you one. So...
Yes, and you can still cut the larger sizes.
Yeah.
Because obviously all your friends will be bigger than you.
So we're just coming up to the end of
Not
that.
allowed to, no skinny friends allowed.
No skinny friends allowed.
We have to eat more cakes. I've got
We want the skinny
sister.
friends just so, they kind of make us feel good about ourselves.
No, you just have
Balance it out. It's very
yes.
zen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody, whatever size, more than welcome.
Exactly. I'm just going to take that.
I've got a skinny sister, and she's lovely. So I'll allow. She is. She looks really great in those jeans today, doesn't she?
I'm just going to sew straight across at this point.
Okay, so that's just the bit where the pocket's joining at the bottom of the skirt onto the seam allowance. So now you're sort of coming to 5/8 or 1.5 mil, aren't you?
Yeah.
Sorry, 1.5 centimetres.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that seam is now on the regular seam allowance.
Yes.
And that's how that pocket seam will be slightly on the inside.
I say yes.
Yeah, so working with a cotton fabric is easier, especially if you're a beginner, easier than using very lightweight, slippery fabrics. So it's a nice fabric to use. But as I say, that's the only thing I would say is do mark your wrong side and right side being the printed side usually, just so make sure you get a right and a left piece, a right and a left pocket. And in cases actually there is a little bit of shading which you can't see in artificial lighting. Which segues me nicely onto the native lighting lamp we've got there, standing on the side, which is unplugged in, so we can't show it.
Sorry, I had to unplug it. The
We've
wires
got a whole show of that on Monday. Who's that with? So Claire, who is native lighting, who I met the other week, she will be on with Rebecca Reed at 8 a.m. Oh, she did say next time she comes she was going to have some new products. So and they're beautiful. They've got this sort of Swedish design to them.
Are they rechargeable, aren't they? Are they?
Some of them are, and some of them you have to leave plugged in. They're mains powered, and they have now. Is this right? LED lights, so they don't wear out. Light emitting diode.
Oh. That sounds fancy.
It does, doesn't it? I know I get me LED and me LCDs mixed up.
So where we've sewn over to the 1.5, we're just going to snip to give that some ease.
Liquid crystal something.
Liquid crystal.
The LCD, I think.
Was that Elliot? Elliot's the techie guy.
It's me that said that.
Oh, was it?
I think it's liquid crystal. But I don't know what the D stands for.
Oh.
Display? Don't know. There's something for somebody to read, tell us. Not that I'll probably remember it for next time. So you're just snipping into that.
I'm snipping in
angle.
so I can then open the side seam for the underneath the pocket.
Yeah.
And it will just sit really lovely.
And it also means you can turn the pocket to the front and press more easily.
Yeah. We still need to do something with. That's just popped out. Actually, let me just move that.
A novice overlocker. Yes, but Yes, you could use an overlocker for this. Yeah, absolutely, definitely. 4-thread overlocker, and you wouldn't need to sew the seams. You would do it all in the one pass. The only bit I think would be more tricky perhaps is the pocket, isn't it?
Pocket. I was going to say the pocket would be tricky to do that with.
I think.
Well, to finish.
So who was that said there's another message? Who was that said it? Caroline. Caroline said she's a newbie to dressmaking. Thank you to all of us here and all the help she can get.
Ah.
So, well, hopefully you'll find this useful. And of course, this is videoed, isn't it? It's kept, and you can go and watch it again on YouTube. So you'll have the chance to watch this again and various tips that we've hopefully imparted, not confused you with.
Yeah, this is a perfect. I mean, this is a perfect one to start with, Caroline. It's you know, and you're going to look great in it as well.
And you know, you should neaten your seams, and one of the easiest ways to neaten the seam on a cotton like this is your pinking shears that we were using earlier.
We have got pinking shears here. Yeah. I mean, I did do that on the other half actually.
Yes.
But I'm not going to bore you with.
No, you don't need to. You don't need to be showing how to do that.
Now.
You could use, or you could just use a zigzag stitch, or you can use your over edge stitch. But you do need to neaten your raw edges. Obviously, we're not doing it here on a sample because of time, but it is important to do that when you make it to wear.
Also, with the top of this pocket, what we need to do as well is to sew. It's about 2.5 inches down. So, see, there's always a trusty tape measure on there. It's 2.5. I remember the measurement from when I did it on the other one. And then you'll need to do that 1.5 centimetres from this edge. So it will go over this line, which is the original centimetre line when we added the pocket flap on. And it will marry up really nicely with the one that you've got down there. So let me just get that. 2.5. And that will be a nice, perfect opening for your pocket to go in.
Yeah.
See, my
without
hand
the
fits
opening
in
starting right at the waistband.
Yes, exactly.
So that's what you're doing that for.
This is the reason why we do that. Because if you left it like that, you'd have a gaping hole at the top.
Yeah.
And if you want that, that's fine. You don't need it. These pockets are lovely and deep.
Yes.
So I find the 1.5 centimetre line on my machine. I don't know how close you can go up to that. And you just match it with the edge of your dress panel piece there. And that's how much you need to go in, or it's kind of like 5 mil, if you can just eyeball it.
So it's quite close to the edge, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite close to that original stitch line where we added the pocket on.
And just for about 2.5 inches, about 6.5 centimetres, I think.
And actually, the inside of the foot, the metal piece, where the needle is enough. I've just seen. So
I always use the edge of the presser foot wherever possible, and whether it be, as you say, the inside edge, the outside edge.
And you want to back stitch that as well.
Yeah.
Also, something you can do if you want to at a later date is you could put a few stitches down there just to kind of secure that opening. You shouldn't need to, but it's just to strengthen the seam. And then what we need to do then is lay that flat. See, this is the issue that I had with this pattern. Now on the instructions, there you go, Elliot.
Oh yes, the pocket's sticking up.
Yeah, which I was like, was that my sewing? Blah, blah. It's not. The pattern piece isn't quite right, because what will happen is if you left that like that, you're going to have your pocket flapping around. It's not going to sit nicely and flat. So all I would do is leave that as flat as possible. We need to base that down, so that's then facing the front, which is that way. And obviously on the other side, it's going to be the other way. So you do if you baste it, you just need to put that in within the seam allowance.
And just for old school again, basting is tacking.
Tacking.
And you just use your long stitch length to baste.
Yeah.
Or you can do it by hand, but you know, let's not do it by hand. So you're doing it, and that little extra sitting proud at the moment.
Yeah.
And
so
then
you
can
just
trim it down in a minute.
You just trim it. But we want that sitting nice and flat. So that's the only thing that I found on this pattern was like, I was like, oh, that's a bit.
Well, as it's for beginners, it might be that it's just like kind of easier to
I mean,
do
that
that
will
It's
lose
just-
itself in the waistbands.
Yes.
But you don't really want a lot of bulk in the waistband anyway. So we're just gonna. I'll do it the other way
See, it's
around,
interesting, you know, that you immediately go to your rotary cutter, and I would use scissors.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So we'll just do that. On the floor. Sorry, Kat. Or Elliot Hoover, didn't he?
I'm just amazed at these guys, Elliot and Kat, and the other team, Joe and Hayley. These are the best ones, of course. But they just do everything. They're so good, so good.
So, I need to do that bit as well, actually, because I didn't do that bit. Okay.
And put the blade away each time when you.
Oh yes, sorry. Lock it. Keep it well clear. We don't want anybody cutting their hands off.
You don't want to accidentally cut something as well. Yeah, we don't want you and Mark, cutting yourselves on air.
And now I'm just going to sew these together at the centre back seam. And the centre back is marked with 3 notches. So usually on patterns they use 1 or 2, but obviously for this, because it's got a front,
A side.
yeah, side,
Yeah.
and the back, they've just increased.
Basically, you match notch for notch. So if you've got singles, you match your singles together. You match your doubles together.
Yeah.
You match your triples together. And you've just marked it by pins. So
Yeah,
you know
I
that's
just
3 because you put 3 pins in.
Yeah, I just put my pins in. Want to make sure I've got it all inside out. There we go.
Yes, this is more difficult when you're working with plain fabric, isn't it?
Yeah, with a printed fabric or an obvious fabric that's got one side or the other, it's going to be a lot easier to do. So if you are a beginner, maybe try it with a printed fabric first, as opposed to a plain one. Not that you shouldn't do that, but you can just...
But yeah, I mean, as I say, the other trick is to mark the wrong side being the inside.
Yeah, I think with beginners, like, sometimes they can get put off though if they go wrong.
Yes,
They can get
absolutely.
very put off very easily. So just give yourself a breather to start with, and yeah, just put it
take
to
your
one
time.
side, come back to it, unpick it if you need to.
So the end of the hour is very quickly approaching, I'm afraid to say.
Oh, blimey.
If you do like these fabrics, so we have got these lovely bundles of plain, so 4.5 metres. If you look on the website for those, 4.5 metres, which does you one of these lovely wrapped skirts. And we have got scarlet, if you're sassy. We've got, what was the yellow?
Corn, was it?
No, it
corn
wasn't
yellow?
sunshine. It was corn yellow. And then we've got that beautiful sort of midnighty blue, cobalt, is it? Cobalt blue. And of course, we've also got the beige, if you want to be sophisticated. And we've got the fuchsia, which I haven't got the bundle here, but that's the one that Clive is working with. And it's a lovely sort of candy floss pink. It's very pretty.
It's
And then,
called
of course,
it's called fuchsia, this one.
yes,
Yeah, because
fuchsia would be brighter to me.
Yeah, it's like a baby pink, isn't it?
It is. I think it's more candy floss. But we have this conversation about the colours. Then we've got the prints. So those are 4.5 metre lengths, and then the prints come in 1/2 metre lengths. So you need to buy multiples if you're going to buy them to make this skirt.
Press the seam open, but we'll just scoot over that for a second.
Yes, because we've only got sort of 2 or 3 minutes.
Yes.
You want to just quickly show how you're
Okay.
attaching the waistband.
So we've already pressed over the 1.5 centimetre seam. Now, the pattern does tell you to put it on the outside I always put it on the inside, because when you top stitch it, it's going to look neater. And then on the inside, if you don't quite catch in the other sides, it doesn't matter, no one's going to see it. So that's a tip.
I know. Do you know what? It's exactly why.
Yeah, I think.
Because otherwise you have to hand stitch it on the inside.
Yeah, you don't want to be hand stitching. If you want to, you know, kind of just get it on, pop it on the inside first. Where's my centre back? There it is.
It is. So we've used a medium weight interfacing here, which is one we had on the show earlier. So if you look on the scroll down, and you should be able to find that interfacing. It comes in a pack. And if it's not long enough piece for a long waistband, because this is a wrap, so it's going to be longer than your normal waist, you can piece it. You know, you don't have to have one long strip because it's fusible, so you can butt the edges and fuse those together.
Obviously matching the notches where I placed before. And then what you do, hang on, let me just try and get the bulk of this out of the way. So we'll just pretend that's on for a second, just ignore those momentarily. We need to be then adding the ties on, making sure that the raw edge is that on that way around. So we're just going to base that on. And if you can see there, it doesn't quite match up to the end. Well, it would have more space than that, so it would look like that. So you want to make sure that that is matching to the end of, oh, that's it, that's to the end of that bit at the bottom.
So the idea is that the waistband is sticking out from the skirt because you need to neaten the ends of the waistband. That's why it has to stick out at this point.
So we've put that on. We're going to then, making sure that the tie is within the waistband at this point, we're then going to sew down here so it's nice and flush. And then when you pull it through, it's just going to be a nice straight line, but you'll have the tie kind of this side. If that makes sense.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously waistband on. We're not going to put it on. We put this on first to the ends. We fold it over.
Once you've sewn it on.
Once we've sewn the tie on, then we sew down that bit and we'll get a nice crisp neat
and again,
edge.
that's when you cut
but
that
you snip it,
corner.
yeah, you snip it on the corner, so always, so on this corner you'd go diagonal. And you could even trim that down if you want to as well. And then we flip that around the other side and top stitch all the way. And that's why we do it on the inside rather than the outside.
Yeah. So you're doing what you've read your pattern instructions, but now you're doing it your way.
Yeah.
So you can follow the pattern instructions exactly, or you can use that little tip, which is the same thing I do, to save doing the hand stitching after.
Yeah, you don't want to hand
just very
stitch
quickly, because we really have got down to 2 minutes. The hem, you could use a rolled hem foot.
Yes, you could, yeah.
Or you just did a double turned hem,
Yeah,
didn't
I just
you?
double
Just a narrow
turned it.
double turn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just double turned it. It does say to use ease stitching as well, which you can do. But, you know, if you're competent, double turn.
Yeah, and it's a very narrow hem, isn't it?
It's very narrow. It's like 5mm, 5mm.
Yeah, so you should be able to do it without ease stitching.
Yeah.
And you could use a twin needle, which you'd have to stitch on the top if you did.
Yeah.
And that would make a lovely finish too.
Yeah. Or you could overlock it and then just do one turn.
Absolutely.
But
yes.
then if it flaps open, people are going to see all your your overlocking.
Thanks ever so much, Clive.
Thank you so
That's
much.
really great.
I'd like to say happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, sadly we don't have ours anymore. But,
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I hope you all have a good day.
You can
and,
have me
enjoy
as your surrogate mother.
Ah, yeah. Well, you were old enough, you said.
I am.
I'm not going
Sadly,
to ask.
I am.
I'm not going to ask how old you are.
But I am.
Rude.
Right, let's do the menu for tomorrow, Mother's Day, where I will be joining you again. And we have tomorrow sewing room tools. We've got more lovely tools. And then we have Melly and Me, super cute pony toy. Is that right? With Rachel. So that's going to be really exciting. I've been looking forward to working with Rachel. Then at 10 o'clock we have Kingston Fabric. What's not to love? New launch, that is. And then a big and bold circles cushion with Rachel. So that's going to be really good too. So she'll be showing us some tips on making this lovely cushion. And then pre-cuts and books. So that's when you have pre-cut fabrics already and then books with what to do with them. We also have a surprise for you. I'm not saying what it is yet. Ooh. But coming up after the break, we have Yarn Lane. Now, you need to go over to www.yarnlane.com and you can buy, and again, that post and package carries over to Yarn Lane too. So if you bought something already on Sewing Street, that same post and package will last for you for the day. And we have got, I'm not going to pronounce her surname, but we have got Anna. Say that again. Nikopolovich. I apologise, Anna, if I've got that wrong. So we've got Anna joining us. So she is the designer of these crocheted socks and shawls. I love the idea of a shawl. We are now to sit outside. We can wear a shawl. So it's all on pre-order. So on yarnlane.com. Please join me and Anna. And again, thank you very much to Clive.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to actually work with you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We will see him soon.